Rage over here just now following me. That hurts. Hi, Rage. Thank you for the follow. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Looks like we're all pretty sleepy. Sarah, thank you for that host as well. I appreciate you. So, Rage is sleepy confirmed. There's a good chance of that. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to Offscript RP Podcast Episode 3. I thought you were too, to be honest, but Twitch has been doing that lately. I know it unfollowed me from a couple people lately, and I had to go refollow. So, I think you're correct, Rage. I think you followed me like 8 times now. But anyways, welcome to episode 3 of Offscript RP Podcast. Today we're going to be having special guest Celeficent, Dat Rage Guy, and Unironically Average chatting with us today. We're going to be discussing the topics surrounding character creation and kind of injecting them into a server. This layout is clean as fuck. Well, thank you, Sarah. If you would like help building things, let me know. I enjoy overlays a lot. I enjoy building them a lot. Hello, Baconator. But yeah, today's going to be character creation and injecting them into the server, and just kind of picking people's brains about how we go about creating characters, the processes that we use, the things that we've done to build some of our favorite characters, who our favorite characters are, and why. And we're already getting frame drops. That's how you want to start. Yup. Come on, internet. I pay for you. You're supposed to work. Okay, there we go. Okay. We should be good now. Oh, no. Doggone it. I thought, no, guys. It's 100% me. It's 100% me. Give me a second, chat. Give me a second. It sometimes does this where it'll kind of like hiccup and then it'll even out. I'm not even a podcast type, and I'm here for this just in time for it to break. Hi, McDonald's. How are you? Okay. I think we're good. We should be back up and running now. It didn't even die. It just like had a spaz attack. So anyways, let me go ahead and get these guys in here and get started. Thanks. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, this is I never use this overlay, but this is my IRL overlay. As you guys can see, I got my keyboard and everything over here. But what's up, Rebel Scum? So let's go ahead and get this started. Let's go ahead and jump into here.
He's a good boy.
Who's a good boy? Wait, what?
Oh, what?
Nothing?
Don't worry about it. We'll get to that.
Oh, we'll get to that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll get to
as you guys can see, we've got Celeficent, Dat Rage Guy, and Unironically Average joining us today for our RP podcast. So there they are in chat. So big thank you to you guys for deciding to join me for this discussion. I know you guys were like, oh, we're gonna tear you a new one, but I figured it would be fun anyway. Either way.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me to this roast session.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
what? Wait, what? Yes. I missed that memo.
Wait. Was that not what was on the...
Oh, was that... Oh, shoot. I grabbed the wrong docket. You're right. It is Roast Neon 2020.
Oh, okay,
Shit.
good.
yeah, I thought we were continuing the roast show from last night.
Damn. Oh, is that... Oh, how did that go, by the way? I didn't go to that.
I went to the tail end of it, so
apparently it was
sadly.
Yeah, apparently it was better.
Okay,
but
okay.
The bar was already pretty pretty low for what better could be, I guess.
Wow, toxic.
So
Wow.
I mean, it's not being
Toxic,
toxic. Like, it's just they tried. But
Why didn't you get up there and throw some roast sessions then, motherfucker? You're gonna be so judgmental.
because I didn't want to be mean to Milan. He just got out of the hospital.
Yeah,
right?
Milan did just get released. So
Milan was like, Milan's like, you can get on stage and roast me. I'm like, dude, you just got out of the hospital.
Yeah,
You're
like you
fine,
just got
honestly,
shot to
no.
shit, dude. We're not gonna roast you. You've already been roasted.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that make it easier?
I mean,
Yeah,
it depends on how
but-
low your standards of humanity are. Like,
If this is a roast, then there's no standard.
that's a
There's
good
no
point.
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
But yeah, no.
All right.
No, it was interesting for
Good.
sure.
I'm glad that it went well because we saw the ad in character. I knew about it, but I saw the ad in character, and I didn't realize it was last night. And I didn't put the time zone into my head and figure out that it was like, oh shoot, that's like the middle of the night for me. So I didn't even go.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about it all was like 2 hours before it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I went and helped. Vince Kaufman called 911, and I went and helped someone to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's sitting there in the lobby, worried and like super shaky. And all of a sudden, I see like an ad go out, and then an ad on Twitter for the roast show.
Oh,
I was like, man's dedicated.
He's dedicated despite all that shit. That's funny. I like Vince. Vince is a good character. I've run into him on almost all of my characters, and I like him. Okay,
solid, dude.
Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. Hey, Zane. So, as I said, chat, the discussion today is kind of going to be centered around characters, like ideas to icons, basically is the title I gave it. Essentially, coming up with characters and how, like, what each individual person's thought process is when developing one, if they have any tricks, if there's a process. I know everyone has different ways of creating characters. Some of them literally come up with them on the fly. Others spend weeks developing who they want them to be, stuff like that. So, Soul thought I was trying to trick her in another conversation, and I admitted I was not, but she did call me out.
Oh, you totally were.
Yeah, no, lies and slander. But then she accused me of just trying to get to rage by inviting her, and I actually I did not do that either, but it was funny. So anyways, the talking points that we've kind of got started for, that I got to kind of start with are, we'll just start with something simple. Just kind of go around and figure out who your favorite character was, whether it's someone that you played or one that you observed or both, and then why. So UA, let's go ahead and start, because on my screen here, I've got you on the far right. So go ahead and tell us, if you can, who your favorite character is, whether you've played them or somebody else, and then if you didn't play them, who your favorite character that you've played is, and why those are your favorite characters.
We were just discussing this before you came back.
Oh, perfect.
So it's really difficult because depending on my mood, my favorite character is Dave the dog, because all I have to do is bite people, and it's great.
I love Dave. Dave's great.
Dave's great, but there's been so many characters that I've interacted with over the years on TFRP from public to whitelist that it's really difficult to say what a favorite was. Favorite of mine is also really difficult because I play such a range of different characters. I love them all for completely different reasons. At the moment, my favorite's probably my chav. Probably Dan, because it just means that we get to give you abuse, basically. We just need to abuse you.
Pretty much. I'm the target of all that.
But they're complete lost characters because they use terrible cars. I mean, our favorite, I think, Chase was 2 up on a moped at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, and
they're not meant to do anything. Same with Monty and Bertie as well. Our old drunk gin infused chaps. They're just stupid characters and I think it's because I play towers and I play miles. They're quite heavy characters at times. When you've got a really busy EMS shift and you're just going constantly to and from calls, sometimes you just want to let loose and have a chilled character. So having stupid characters like that are probably more my favorites than my more serious ones, because I mean, I love them, but I mean, Monty, I came up with when we actually made them on public, about 3 days before we got whitelisted.
Oh, geez.
And it was just basically old guys who are homeless, spent everything on gin and cocaine. They came over on a yacht that just had coke and hookers all over it.
Gosh.
Way back when, like the 60s or the 70s or something like that. And kind of ended up going broke and staying here. And it was the downside of those is that it destroys my voice, so we can't play them for long. So they pop up every now and again, but I think Darren right now, because it doesn't destroy my voice, is probably my favorite. And he's just, let's just make a chav. And then I was like, oh well, I can do a Scouse accent, so let's do that and just abuse the police.
Nice. I love the chavs. They're hysterical. I die every time I deal with them, and I love the whole shtick with my sunglasses. I think that's hysterical.
You're making those shitty sunglasses.
Oh my gosh. Soul, who would you say is your favorite character that you've played when you interacted with, and why?
Dave the dog.
Oh, really?
No. So I guess first I want to, talk about the favorite character that I have on the server right now that I've been interacting with. It would have to be 100% Medic Avid Blake. He
Oh,
is a
Gavin
character
Blake?
Yeah, Gavin
Oh
Blake.
my
Anytime
gosh.
I interact with him, I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's gonna say. I wake up to just random text about nothing that I have to ask more about, and he hooks you in and drags you closer to his character because you want to find out more about what the fuck's going on inside of his head. So that's my favorite character on the server right now.
Nice.
I mean, it's a close call. There's a lot of good characters on the server at the moment. I feel like there's a lot of the server's coming a long way back to interesting and fun.
I agree.
interactive characters.
100% I agree.
Favorite character I played? Well, this is gonna be a shocker to everyone who knows me. Ada Clark.
Hoggers! Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the whole reason why you invited me to this thing is so I can talk about that stupid character.
It's not actually 100%. All honesty, Cards and Table, no, it is not. But it is. She is a wonderful character.
She definitely not my most thought out character, but she became like most thought out character that I've ever played.
Yeah.
As time went on, we'll get more into, I guess, the character process as time goes on.
Yeah.
But her story, I mean, I'm not going to credit myself at all with it, but the people I RP'd with during then, Skip, Jam, Mr. Moon, like, they all just made it a very interesting and emotional and engaging story.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. She's the character that everyone heard about before you got whitelisted. Like, I remember hearing about her at... First time I'd ever heard her name was at TwitchCon 20... Shit, what year was it? It was 2018. It was 2018. First TwitchCon I ever went to, and they were having a couple RP panels, and people asked the panel who the most... they thought what was the most impactful perma on the server, and Thad, without missing a beat, just raises his hand and throws out Ada Clark. I'm like, I never even heard of this character. So I had to do all this research to figure out who she was. But yeah, I 100% agree. Watching those clips and everything and learning who she was a very, very good character.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Thank you, Thad.
Yeah, no, that was it was one of the highlights from TwitchCon 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. And somebody got up and asked who the most iconic perma was, and Thad didn't misspeak, yelled that out. Mr. Moon, he goes, "Bitch wouldn't die" or some shit like that. And it was so funny. It was great. All right, Rage. What about you? What's your who's your favorite character, and who's your favorite character you've interacted with, and why?
Big shocker. I only like my characters. Nobody else even comes close. No. Honestly, I don't know that I have a favorite character on the server. Like there's just, especially now, like, I mean, maybe looking back on like my favorite character to run into like in the past couple of years, like I always really enjoyed running into Mr. Moon's characters.
Oh, yeah.
I had a couple of run-ins with Freddy on my cop, my first cop, and also on a couple of crims that I rolled around with. But I mean, as far as like lately, I don't know. Like there's a lot of good characters. Like I'm interacting with a lot of interesting people. Like even people that are just kind of shitlordy crims. Like it's still good interactions. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm still having a lot of fun with them. So I don't really know that I have like a favorite character right now. So I can't really call anyone out for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
As far as like my favorite character that I've played, like part of me kind of wants to say Jasper, who was my mobster with the Gambinos, but I actually think that my favorite character that I've ever created and played was probably actually Arturo Gambino.
Arturo, fucking that prick.
Gone too soon. Gone
way too soon. That dude. All right, you were the guy that spread your arms out on the freeway and got lit up like a Christmas tree, right? That was you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
yeah, everyone was lighting me up, and I'm like, here I fucking am. Let's go.
That was such a good promo, man.
Yeah, no, he was just a fun character to play. I didn't really get to fully realize what I wanted to do with him. But he was very different from characters I played before because he just had no regard for like anyone, like even his uncle Luca. He had no regard for his uncle or anything like that. Like he's just this completely spoiled ass brat. And it was really fun to play. He got into a lot of trouble. But yeah, he's gone too soon. Too soon.
Gone too soon. I loved him because like, so at the time, I guess I can kind of lead into mine here. At the time that I got whitelisted, I will fully admit, I was not ready for whitelist. I was and I wasn't. And I learned so much on the crim that I was playing at the time, Paco, and I had to learn the hard way the difference between in character and out of character when it comes to crime, and the dynamic you get when you're dealing with other criminals. But I loved Arturo because he forced conflict on the Vagos when there was none. Vagos had no conflict going on, and Arturo comes in and pisses off Paco and Noel. And yeah, Arturo has a lot of credit from me because he's the reason that Vagos got thrown into conflict when we had none. So
I remember being an asshole when you guys had that meeting with Darren at the barbershop.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, dude, just the / me's. He was just protruding this douche vibe. It was great. But yeah, I would say my favorite character that I've interacted with lately. I think one of them, I wouldn't say that he's my favorite character I've interacted with ever, but I'd say lately is going to be Tyrell, just because he is a go-getter. Nothing stops him. Like he's not a yes man in the sense of he does whatever he's told, but if there's RP possibility, he goes and does it. He doesn't wait. He doesn't linger around. He doesn't plan. He just does it and sees what happens. And he's not afraid to take risks. He's not afraid to lose. He's not afraid to get caught. But at the same time, there's a serious story element that's building within the character where you're seeing a clear and present divide happening between him and his fellow, a couple of his fellow compatriots, the officers, where it used to be this kind of banter vibe. Now there's this tension that's building between him and the police. And so it's very interesting to see that character develop over the time that I have, both on McNeil and on Diego. And the favorite character that I've played, it's funny, up until a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Paco. He is no longer my favorite character that I've played. I actually don't like the character anymore because of just what happened to him. Like, he's a good story, but he was a hard character to play. I would say my favorite character that I've played is probably going to be, probably actually be Diego, to be perfectly honest, the one I'm playing right now, because I learned so much in all of my other characters that I'm able to apply those lessons to Diego, and he feels like a much more enjoyable character, not just for others to interact with, but for myself to play, which is huge, because Paco got to a point where I didn't enjoy logging on, I didn't enjoy playing him, and so it's good to learn. It's hard, but it's good to learn those lessons. So. Okay, so now that we kind of discussed like who our favorite characters that we played, what inspired that character? Like, how did you create them? So you were saying your favorite character is the Chav. You kind of talked about how you made him and why you made him. But is there any more like details as to like what inspired that character?
No, really. It was a case of, so I think the first character that I really played on Whitelist was Miles, and he started off heavy with the therapy stuff, and I've been doing therapy on Whitelist for over a year now, I think. And then the next one that I made was Towers. So I've always kind of on Whitelist played serious characters, and a lot of my time is taken up with serious characters. Yeah. So I know that Mighty does okay, right. So Mighty's character is or uses the voice of a sort of a comical character from the UK called Devo, and his voice is very iconic. And we were just talking about it, and he does it really, really well. And we just thought, we need a character. We need to bring a character like that to Whitelist. And then I thought, well, it's better in pairs because you can play off one another.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
So we did that, and then we thought, okay, well, let's just, these guys aren't going to make any money. It's fine. So it was just a case of and then when the Asbo came out, it was like, well, this is perfect. They've got they've got a Vauxhall Corsa that they would have back home, and they're just going to go out and be a nuisance. And that was really all there is to it.
Yeah.
I've spoken to Foom previously, and he says a lot of the time that I think he got advice that was like, have 3 things making the basis of a character, regardless of what they are, like attitudes and stuff like that. And really, that's all you need, and you can make it up from there. I'm terrible at making characters. Towers had no real backstory other than triathlete, like super fit triathlete. Doesn't know what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Miles had a little bit of a backstory, and that's pretty much all. And anything that I go through is then put into his backstory. When I had my EMS interview, I made stuff up on the spot and was like, okay, I should probably write that down because that's now in his history.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of like what feels right. I try and play all my characters in the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's not a yeah, everything's done on the fly, but there's no real inspiration, unfortunately.
Okay. I mean, I get that for sure, because I mean, I've done characters both ways. I've done characters inspirational, and I've done characters like completely written out. So I think there's pros and cons to both, and some click with this. Like, you'll make a character one way and it'll click, and then you'll make another character the same way and it just doesn't work, and you gotta kind of revisit it. But I think it's kind of a case by case basis for me personally. But so what about you? What was you said your favorite character was Ada. What was like the inspiration for the character? How did you create them? Anything like that?
Okay, so I was pretty new to FAM, and I was role playing as I don't even remember some character, and I said on stream, you know what, guys, I think I want to apply to become a cop on this server. I had only been on the active on the server for like 3 weeks tops. I had been whitelisted like 6 months before, so I passed the threshold on who can apply and who can't apply.
Oh yeah.
And someone in the stream who was heavy in the influencing of getting people to be certain cop servers was like, hey, apply and we'll get you in. So I was like, sweet, well shit, I gotta make a cop character now. And I had no idea what that entailed, so I just started with a name. What sounds like a good cop name? Clark. Great, Clark sounds good. I had a Caroline Clark on another server. I was like, I love that name, so I'll just name her Caroline Clark. And I was like, well, Caroline, I don't know if I like that name. I want to do something a bit more unique. And so I just Googled and did random name generators and came across Ada. I'm like, great, Ada Clark. That sounds like a good, easy, simple name. I can do that. And then backstory came along, and I was like, I'll just give her a backstory that has a little bit of sadness and like a little bit of, mystery into it, because like maybe we can get into that later on. So I had it to where her mother had been killed. We don't know how or why. We assumed it was suicide. And I didn't even know at the time what it was or how she died, or didn't think of that at all. I'm like, okay, and her dad died in the field of duty because he was a cop. Okay. So I made a cop had cop backstory, very original. I didn't know what I was doing. And so it just started off very, very basic. And I was like, I'm going to kind of play this character like it's me, because I'm kind of new to this really strict role play. I've never really done a character like this before, like very realistic. So I was like, you know what? I want this character to seem real. So I'm going to put myself and my emotions and my thoughts behind this character. So Ada Clark, I know it's really like a bad role play to sit there and play yourself, but she was myself, but a completely different version of me by the end.
I mean, that's pretty much McNeil for me. So I get that 100%. I don't think silly it's bad role play. I think it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's kind of like entry role play, and then like when you're still learning how to properly role play, and it's easier, like you said, it's easier for you to make it feel real if it's basically you. Yeah, so I wanted the realism aspect to it, and I didn't know how to play different characters very well. So I was like, I'll play myself, but I'll play her, like I'll up the emotions a little bit, So that's what I was going for with Ada. And I mean, I've come a long way since then, like planning what to do or how to do, and have these little like faults and not faults. I mean, Ada, I discovered through roleplay what her faults were, what her strengths were, how to cry a lot on the flip of a dime. So yeah, that's I didn't put much thought behind her until like later in the roleplay. Me and Chris, who gives fits, we kind of sat down together and like, let's hash out Ada's backstory to the fullest and have that brought to RP. And eventually found out that it was her dad who murdered her mom, Oh, shit. And that sent her down into a huge spiral emotionally towards her last month or two of living. Yeah. So I didn't get to explore it much because some bitch Maxine killed her. But it just started like this whole new chapter. She had just quit the force. She was going through all these other things, and it was just kind of like, she was a very emotional character, and that just added a whole level of darkness that just kind of flipped her upside down. And I think backstory motivated that 100%. I like that you did the backstory after establishing the character, because I've done it personally. I've done it other ways. I've done it the other way around, where like, I write a full backstory before the character even sees screen, like before he's ever even created. And I actually like that you did it the other way around, where you got the character established, got people comfortable with them, got people used to him, and then brought in the backstory to help, kind of like a TV show. Like essentially, you get this character, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they came from, but you get to learn who they are, And then like season 2 or 3 is when you find out their backstory and where they came from and why they are the way that they are. And I think that actually is a really cool way of doing it.
I would have to agree. Thank you.
Rage, what about you? Your favorite character that you played, what was the inspiration for it, and like how did you create him and whatnot?
Oh man, I didn't ever want to talk about this publicly.
So
originally I was in the Gambinos with Jasper and he died.
Thank you for that resub,
and I really,
my dude. Bird,
really loved the Mob RP. And I don't know, I think it was like what 6-7 months after Jasper's death, something like that. I ended up memeing with Shadow in his DMs with Got Shadow. And I think the Gambinos were like kind of on the verge of like some conflict and shit like that. And I was like, you know what? I was like, Luca's nephew is gonna come to town. I was like, and he's just gonna be this spoiled ass brat from back home, like, you know, like this real like, yo, Gambino's my name, like you better fucking respect me. And he was just like, do it. And I mean, that's pretty much how the character was born. He just said, do it. So I logged on the server and I made wannabe Seth Rogen. And yeah, the likeness was uncanny, not planned. And I just rolled with it. I mean, like I rolled with the whole spoiled brat attitude. I tried to take like some of the worst qualities of Luca, like being a sexist piece of shit, and kind of amp that up even more. That was very unfortunate. I ended up sending a lot of DMs to people being like, yo, was just so you know, like, you know, I'm sorry if that was too far.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. You know? Like, I mean, I remember during Arturo's death scene, like calling the girl that shot him like a whore, and I was like I messaged her after. I was like, yo, listen, I'm sorry if that was too far. Like, it was just the character. I promise. He's dead now. It's
he's
fine.
gone. He's dead. It's fine. He's got shot up.
You murdered him. You murdered him. It's okay.
Dude.
But yeah, no, I mean, Arturo was just a meme.
Yeah. He was a good meme though, because he wasn't like a shitlordy meme. He had sustenance. He felt like he belonged.
Oh, I mean, I brought him in with every intention of killing Luca and taking over the family.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it just didn't get to that point. Yeah. It didn't. I mean, I had big plans to completely like fuck the Gambinos up, to be honest, like with his attitude. But
well, you did.
Luca took him to a mine and put a gun in his mouth and was basically like, get your shit together, I'm gonna kill you. So he was like,
dang.
Oh, and then he died a week later. But you know.
Jeez, yeah. Like I said, I loved Arturo. Like at the time, I hated him because I hadn't developed that keen separation and everything yet. But like looking back, he's such a fucking good character, man. He was gone way too soon. As far as how I created Diego, he was a meme too. Actually, he started as a meme. It was a couple months ago. I think Sheedy was in my channel and we were talking about how we all missed Vagos and how everybody missed the pub Vagos and how it was a perfect combination between silly and serious. And I jokingly said, oh, wouldn't it be funny to make Dora and Diego as Vagos? And Sheedy said, oh, I'll do it, you won't. And I on stream made Diego, and we just made this Vago character that was way younger than Paco. He wasn't in his 30s, he's early 20s. Just this very aggressive, stuck up, Hispanic guy. And we made him his Mimi outfit, which was the suit but no shirt underneath. So he's wearing the coat and the pants. He's got the Vago wrap around his head. He's got a big gold chain on, but he's wearing no shirt underneath. So just basically look completely over the top. And he was just supposed to be a meme. He was just supposed to be a kind of a shitlordy character. Like we even got picked up by Grove first day and brought down to the docks and had an AK shoved in our face. And we're basically like, look, we're not here to do anything, man. Just let us be. And so they let me go. And I was hitting ATMs and running from the cops and I was yelling at them. And it was good to get back to those roots. But then Diego went from a meme to a reality character because as I was telling these guys in voice chat, I got no balls a couple of weeks ago, or I guess a month ago now. Basically, we were community discussion in TFRP. We were talking as a big group between a bunch of cops and crims and everything. And people were telling Bosco he should make a crim, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to make a crim unless I was going like with Vagos or something because I really liked how Neon did that on Pub." And I was like, "Dude, if you want to do Vagos, I'll build him right now. I already have a character." And he's like, and Got Shadow's like, "No balls, you won't." Diego became an official Vago that night, and we started the crew. I think in 4 days we had people that made Vagos, and we just started piecing together. And I think inside of a week we went from 1 to 6 people like that, which was crazy. Yeah, I got no balls big time. Sorry, Diego. Yeah, it was good. I laughed, but yeah, no, he started as a meme, but I agree, Sarah. He better make a Vago. But yeah, Vagos became legit very quickly and struck that chord for the serious level of crime that I was looking for, while still allowing comedy and while still allowing interactions with anyone. We weren't closing ourselves off like we did before. We weren't closing Jamestown off like we did before. We wanted to recreate that vibe from Pub at the same time giving a very authentic, like, you know, Southside Hispanic gangster feel where anyone can kind of wander down to Jamestown and talk with us as long as you're respectful. And so far, I think all of us have done that pretty well. Which that was kind of originally started as a meme, and then he turned more of like, I want to bring life to Jamestown, and I think Diego's a way to do that, and that's kind of how it happened. So yeah, I don't know. He's a great character. I love him. He's become my favorite character very quickly. So, okay, so we kind of had the little banter and whatnot regarding favorite characters and whatnot. So I think we can kind of start diving into like tips and tricks that we've come up with, not exclusive to any one character we've done, but just kind of in our time role playing. I know that I've been role playing for about I think three years now. I don't know how long have you been role playing?
Who?
UA, how long have you been role playing?
Not that long. I had, prior to joining TFRP, I had I hadn't ever roleplayed. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
About a year and a half, I think. I think I joined Public in March or May of last year, maybe.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah, that's I still don't feel like I'm a particularly good RPer. It's one of those things, and I've talked about it with Phone and with Mighty before, and said, look, I don't feel like I'm a very good RPer. I was like, why does Neon want me on his podcast? Because I'm rubbish. Like I'm not very good. And it came to the realization that all of my characters are seemingly there to facilitate RP for everybody else.
Okay.
So they're kind of tools. Like Alex is there to be a medic for other people and help them, further any RP that they want to do. Miles is there to, help people dive into the more psychological side of things, and if they want therapy and things like that. And then I've got just a ton of stupid characters that so I've got like my chav is there for the cops and stuff. My homies were there for the cops and for other people. And then I've just got a myriad of characters that help EMS probies, like Jesus or my little photography guy. And it's one of those things where it made me realize that I don't really have any characters for myself, for just the story and for them. All of my characters revolve around providing RP for other people, and then while that happens, they end up building story. They end up having story. Like my Crim has developed a story. He's the only one that I don't want to say planned out, because he was the one that I had on Public. I only really played one or two people on Public, and he ran the Lost. And the one thing that I knew is that I didn't want him being a biker. I wanted to do something completely different.
Yeah, there were so many bikers on Pub, like it was insane.
Yeah, so same character, but I just didn't want him being a biker. He was going to be into cars this time.
Yeah.
So that was really it. And then I just worked on a backstory. And then he was sort of like a transporter. So he drove a lot, did loads of things with cars. He stripped down cars, and then he ended up falling into Chop. And then smuggling came out. And then when smuggling came out, people came to him like, wow, this is kind of your bread and butter. This is exactly what you do and have done for years. So that was his kind of thing. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a sad realization that I don't have any characters that are there just for the story. I might make one. I don't know. Maybe I'll just have to kill off Towers and make another character.
No, you can't kill off Towers. No.
I'll kill him.
No,
you can't. You can't kill Medicom. There's nothing better than Towers arriving at a scene and you're bleeding out, and he's just like, "Hey, what's going on?
Right?
How you feeling? You look like you've been having a good day." And I'm just like, "I'm dying. And he's just sitting there, like, just talking calmly, like a fucking psychiatrist trying to calm me down.
It's great. Towers is like, he can heal you with his voice. Like, you're like, you have a hole in your chest from a shotgun, and Towers is like, hi. And you're like, oh, I'm alive. I'm fine. I'm good to go.
I can feel my heart beating again.
So that's one of the things that I wanted for Towers. It was one of the very few things that I wanted, because over here in the UK, we and our police, our fire, our emergency services are all really good. A horrific understatement. So my sister's a paramedic IRL, and she was tasked with going to a job where her task was finding the head.
Oh, jeez.
Of an incident. It was an RTC, and it wasn't put across like that on the radio. It was just, we just need to, to collect some stuff.
That's oh my god.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where every time you see like a paramedic on scene, it's always really understated. They're always really calm. Nothing's a worry. Like, you never run to a scene, because if you run to a scene, it's like panic.
Sure.
Like, and you don't want to make people think, oh my god, it's panicking. And I tell our probies that, you know what, when you're on scene, it's okay. Like, you don't have to rush through stuff. People are likely to be okay because you've got all the tools.
Yeah.
But then I knew that Towers, I wanted him to be like super understated, because I'd seen a scene where a paramedic it was a helicopter paramedic, and he rolled up on scene, and this guy had like double open fractures of his legs and stuff like that, and the paramedics goes, oh yeah, we've got a little bit of a little bit of stuff going on with your leg. I suspect that's a little bit painful. I'm just going to give you a little bit of ketamine. We'll help you. It's going to help you feel. You're going to feel a little bit wonky, but it's fine. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to look after you, and then we're going to put you off to sleep. You'll be absolutely fine. Then you'll wake up back in hospital, and it'll be great. And then once they've gone off to sleep, he's gone, right, this is a problem. We need to do this, and this. And it was just one of those things where, to the patient, you need to relax them. You need to calm them down and make sure it's not too bad. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted for Towers. It was like, there's going to be no panic for him, and just understate everything.
I like
you
that.
Pull that off great.
You do.
Yeah,
100%.
You really do. You really, really do.
Well, and it doesn't feel disingenuous either. It doesn't feel like you're downplaying the role play of like, oh, you just suffered a shotgun blast to the chest, but it's okay. It's RP. You're going to be fine. Like, it doesn't come across that way at all. It just comes across as like you say, very calming and very much of like, everything's going to be okay. I've got you. But it still feels like you can tell through the / me's or his conversation with other medics that Towers is very serious of like, this is a problem, but we need to stay calm to deal with said problem. Like, I love that.
Yeah, internally he'll roll up and see it and go, oh, this dude's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like when I rolled up onto King's scene, where he was just
Good
he
riddance.
was just he was
Thank
done.
God.
Like, I rolled up on scene and I saw his Mies and I was like, oh, I see where this is going. I've seen where this story ends.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, no, we're gonna do everything. We're gonna do everything. We can get him on his Acticoat. We can get him fluids and blah 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 blah. Even if we're drilling an IO line into his bone, we're gonna, we can do all of that. But you need to remain calm and be like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Internally going, oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Well, and what's interesting is you've noticed, I mean, personally, I've noticed anyways, having played McNeil and being around some of the newer EMS that Towers has trained, as well as watching streams, it comes across in your FTOing with who you're training. You can see it embedding itself into other, medics that are taking that same personality trait of, we need to stay calm for the patient, but then behind the scenes, we're going to blow up internally because we have to tank all of this for the 20 minutes we're on scene. And then when we get to the hospital and drop them off, then we can fall apart, essentially. And I've seen that play out in a few characters, and it's really interesting and cool to see.
Really difficult when you get a character because the EMS that we have are few and far between. Then there's not a huge deal of us, and it's, I guess, it's somewhat similar to cops, but like Towers has been shot by people, he's been shot at people, and he knows who those people have been, and then he has to roll up on a scene and try and help them. It's like with Kim killed one of, sorry, spoilers, Kim killed one of Towers' colleagues, his other lieutenant, and that's hard for him.
Yeah.
And then Kim in the back of the ambulance was actually a really nice touch. It was like, she said to Towers, just let me die. Ooh. You know what I've done.
Ooh.
And it was like, no, because I Towers said I took an oath to help people, so that's not going to happen. So you're going to get the best care that I can provide for you, even though I know what you've done.
Yeah. I really like that dynamic when that plays out, whether it's cops and crims or crims and medics, and you see that human element come out in the characters regarding those moments where they have a realization of like, I know what I've done, you know what I've done, why are you helping me? Or you shouldn't help me, or you should just let me die, or you should just arrest me, or whatever. And you see that human element come out of like, no, that's not my job. And it doesn't happen often, but it's really cool when it does happen.
I wish it happened more often. Those are my favorite moments.
I agree.
Those are moments I haven't got to experience on Vaughn.
Yeah.
Vaughn is just a bunch of laughs and giggles, but I'm saving for the moment where something actually serious happens in her presence, because then I have to bring out a whole nother side of the character that has been untapped since January.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. McNeil got a taste of it for a brief period right when I first got Cop, with the character Ray Painter, for a bit. McNeil like kind of showed her that not all cops are, we're not here just to arrest you. We're here to protect and serve. And I played that out for a while, but the problem was I was overexerting myself with the character, and I was making mistakes because of it. And so I had to kind of backtrack until I got more comfortable with LEO rules and playing the character and everything. And so now he's kind of back into that world. But yeah, it's a wonderful experience to be a part of those stories. But I feel like you've got to cops are going to have it. They have to play the cop a lot longer before they get that, because you have to develop that rapport with the criminals. Like last night, for example, with Marino, when he ran into Tyrell and Diego, and down in Jamestown, and both of them, like, because Tyrell had just told Diego about the bet they had made outside the store about the $2,500, and Diego's like, really? And he's like, yeah, and he paid me too, and then paid it all in ones. And Diego and Tyrell like, he's chill. I like him. Okay, and they hate cops right now. Like, they hate him. And Marino, like, both of one of his card, like, they're like, okay, yeah, we can get down with this dude. Like, we're good with him because he is chill, he's relaxed. And it was then 5 seconds later, you had Bosco, and Bosco's threatening to impound Tyrell's car, and Tyrell's like, do it, I dare you. Like, completely different dynamic. McNeil was the reason Ray went to rehab. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, McNeil puts this effort into the character, and you see it played back. It was great. It was a great story. And it's funny because the topic I have right now is how to create a realistic character, and I think we're already like touching on that with UA and his inspiration from video clips of EMS, and like Soul was saying with Vaughn having this untapped stuff going on in the background that she has built into the character. Any other kind of open platform? Anybody else here kind of have cool things that they have helped to? It doesn't really matter what character, but any character you've ever played, things that you've tried to use to help create a very authentically realistic feeling character?
A lot of daddy issues.
All right, there you go, chat.
Wow. Okay,
there you go.
That's a story in and of itself.
Yep.
The best part is she just muted, and I just hear her cackling in the other room.
The seriousness of it is what made it funny.
No, I think honestly, like, it really just comes down to like when it comes to creating an authentic and realistic feeling character, is it for me at least, it really comes down to playing the character. Because I mean, you can plan everything out on paper as much as you want,
yeah,
but once you actually get into the server and you start interacting with people, your character has to change and has to allow itself to be molded by the interactions that you come in contact with.
Yep.
And I think that part of creating like an authentic, realistic character is learning that the idea of sticking to the character sometimes has to change. Like, there are always going to be those core foundational principles that you have to stick with, but it's important to roll with the punches too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've made really serious characters before and found out that they just don't fit in the server the way that I created them. Like, so in order to make the roleplay fun and authentic for myself and everyone else involved, I kind of have to shape that character a bit differently. And I think that's all a big part of that. Like, it's one thing to stick to your core principles, but I think it's another to like die on the hill of, oh, well, my character would never do this. Like, just say yes sometimes. Like, you'll be surprised by what happens and how it can change your character completely.
Well, and it's funny because what you just said is exactly why I don't like Paco anymore, for example, because I was on the hill of my character wouldn't do this, my character won't do this, my character won't do this, and it was no, and it wasn't just me, it was seeping to the people around Paco. And while he's still got a really good story, I'm very happy with where the story went as a whole, and looking back on it is very, you know, satisfying. The end result was very disappointing and very frustrating, and it was my own fault. A lot of it was my own fault because I said no to so many things because I'm like, oh, he wouldn't do this, he wouldn't do this. Whereas, like as you just said, you need to be able to adapt and roll with the punches for the sake of authenticity, but it also is just immersion and fun, just being able to enjoy the character.
Yeah, nothing kills RP faster, in my opinion, than saying no to everything.
Yes, 100%.
And I'm like where the server is at now, because for the longest time we were realism. We are a realistic server. We do things by the book, how the book says, and that's the hill we die on.
Yep.
Killed it for me.
Yeah.
I'm the first to say it, my cop probably doesn't feel like an authentic cop, because I'm not an authentic cop. And no matter how many videos I watch on how to be a cop or how many people I watch play cop, I just cannot bring that because I don't have the life experiences.
Yeah.
But I learned, thankfully, I mean, Graboid taught me a lot on Ada. And I used what he taught me in lessons on Ada to put into Vaughn. Same with Sheepdog and 5-0 and everyone in Iceman. Like the lessons they taught Ada, I put into Vaughn. So she wasn't a real cop. And Vaughn's not a quote unquote real cop.
Yeah. But
she's a GTA cop.
And a good one, because she feels, because I mean, I've ridden with her on McNeil. She feels authentic to the server. She feels very, she has this serious air to her. Like the time who was it we pulled over? McNeil and Vaughn pulled over somebody, and you were like going to give him a ticket or something. Oh, it was Freya. Mm-hmm. And we pulled over Freya, and you were going to give her a ticket, and it turned into this, it felt very serious. And then it turned into this funny banter, and it was just, it didn't feel, I want to say something, but I'm not going to because we're on stream, but it didn't feel like another server that's out there. It felt very unique to TFRP. It felt very appropriate, if you know what I mean.
Wow, toxic.
I mean, what I want with GTRP is I want GTRP to be, that's what it is. I want it to be Los Angeles RP. I don't want it to be California RP.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be 100% realistic. This is how everyone would react in the city. I want the realism to be, like you said, authentic.
Yeah.
To what the server and what the setting is.
Yep.
So GTA 5, it's a shitlord game. It's a shitlord setting. It's a, so though I try to be as authentic to cop as I can be, I realize I'm playing in a video game. I'm not going to be 100% real cop. And that's how I enjoy playing cop. Am I going to be fired for it one day? Maybe. But we also have Kennedy on the force. So I think the bar's
really, pretty really high. Yeah, the bar's pretty high for what's going to get you fired.
Yeah, I think Vaughn will last a lot longer than Kennedy or even Marino will.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that last night because you were like, I'm just trying to see how far Marino can go till he gets fired. I'm like, you have Cash to compete with. You're fine. He's like, did Cash hold a rave with his car? And I'm like, no, he did not. You caught me there.
How many cops have done that? I stopped yesterday and
it's been done a lot.
The sound of the police with, I think, Face.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
We were just doing whoop whoops, the sound of the police, and we're just sitting there dancing in the middle of Legion Park. And that's what I like about cop right now, is that I don't feel like I have to be 100% serious, this hard ass.
Yeah.
I mean, I can be. I am very much capable of being a dick and an asshole, and I mean, not even a dick or an asshole, but doing my job.
Yeah.
And being the authority that the server needs at the second.
Yeah.
But I can also stop and have a laugh with everyone else.
That's the important thing, and I think that's specific to not just cops, but that's specific to everyone on the server. That Crim, Cop, Civ, everyone. It's just feeling the room. If you can feel a situation that's tense and serious, you either need to excuse yourself if you're not ready for that, or mold into it and play into it. And the exact same thing goes if it's supposed to be silly and fun and lighthearted. Don't show up as the one serious party pooper element. If everyone in the entire scene is enjoying themselves and having fun, let it happen and go somewhere else. That's my opinion, anyways, because you see those interactions happen, and it's wonderful to see people get what they're looking for out of a scenario, whether it's serious or silly or chill or whatever. Actually, someone here mentioned Vaughn. Says Vaughn is closer than Soul thinks. Just look at how she does community outreach with the homeless person, how she brought food, and that helped him return stuff he took from the motel. So there you go.
Yeah, Frank Perry, honestly.
Oh, Frank. I love Frank.
I love interacting with that character.
Yeah.
I have caught him with morphine, crack pipes. He stole from a motel. I have not arrested him once.
I love that.
Because it's that kind of character where I feel like he's so down on his luck, throwing him into jail won't help anything.
Yeah.
And that's how Vaughn thinks. Yeah. So she's like, what can I do to help him in the way he needs to be helped? It's like, I'm sure what Towers would do. Like Towers, I don't think would be like, he's there to help the person. I like to take inspiration from Towers even in that. It's like, it's not like what the end goal is what can I do for the person now? Am I going to benefit off of this? Probably not. Is it going to bite me in the ass? I'm going to get fired for not arresting someone with morphine? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that character needs that in the moment. And that's what I like to be on the server is bring humanity to cops.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's desperately needed.
It is. And it plays into having cops that may get fired. It's not like our OOC breaking rules. It's in character. Things happen that you play the character and they may suffer consequences of it. And that's okay. It plays into the character's story.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to dread the day Vaughn gets, because I mean, honestly, Vaughn is probably, since Ada, the character I've played the most and have enjoyed the most. So the moment she gets fired or gets in trouble, I'm going to be devastated because I love playing her and I love who she is. But it's also, I've accepted that. I'm not trying to be power gaming. I'm not trying to, bring a bad name to cops on the server or I'm just doing things that wouldn't, quote unquote, probably be okay because I'm not making the arrest. I'm not issuing the tickets. I'm just trying to tell a story and bring depth to sometimes a server mechanic that is just seen as a mechanic.
Well, not only that, we're not here to replicate real life. If we were, no one would be having fun because, well, it's 2020. But we're here, we're here for role play, and we're here for stories, and we're here for those RP feels. Whether it's a bunch of laughing, whether it's that hit in the chest of the emotions, whether that's that whole moment of a really good story and something blindsides you. That's what we're here for. We're here to create interesting content for ourselves and for people to watch, not for us to replicate. Okay, you went 50 you're going 55 in a 50, so I'm going to give you a ticket. Like, no, use those interactions as the way I see it. Someone breaking the law on a crim is the cop's excuse to instigate RP with them. It's not just an immediate, oh, here's your crime, here's your punishment, you go away for 10 minutes for a timeout. It's an immediate, they've triggered a scenario that cops are now invited into for the sake of roleplay, whether that's a standoff at the jewelry store, whether that's a funny traffic stop or a serious traffic stop. It doesn't matter what it is. That interaction it's insta conflict, and conflict just breeds RP.
Yeah. I think it's I don't know, I think that it's been a lot of fun playing a GTA cop, as Soul said. For anyone that's been around the server long enough, I guess, my last cop, Thorn, he was kind of created to be a very serious cop. He worked his way up to detective and all that shit. He was a very serious cop, and there was a lot of stuff that he wouldn't do. There were times where he was derpy, but
yeah,
when I made Marino, when I decided to actually start playing Marino, I've talked about this in Lore's stream, actually. I took a lot of inspiration for his attitude from the way that Lore plays Cash, because I just think that Cash he's such a fun character to watch. He's such a fun character to interact with. And I wanted to have fun on cop, playing Thorn and being so serious all the time and treating crims like crims, it just drained the entire cop experience for me. There were a lot of good moments on Thorn, but playing Marino has been such a breath of fresh air. Rolling up to a liquor store and spending 20 minutes troubleshooting VoIP issues with Tyrell before betting him $2,500 he couldn't escape me on foot.
Oh my God, I wish I could have seen that.
It's just shit like that. There were 5 or 6 people that rolled up and oh, you look really bad right now. And I'm I'm gonna get him. I was just you know what? Fuck, I don't care. Marino thinks that that people probably think he's a joke because they've seen him chasing a criminal around for $2,500. But it doesn't matter. I'm having fun. Douglas was having fun. That's just always been my I guess my mission statement with Marino is just to have fun with everyone that he interacts with. Rolling up to Jamestown yesterday with the Vagas, I didn't just roll up let me see your hands, you guys down here trying to steal bikes. I'm just yo, what's up, guys? What's going on?
Well, and it was real funny because we thought, what do we think? Oh, okay, so spoiler alert for those of you who don't know, there was some stuff that was done to the side of Mission Row last night, and we got back to Jamestown after doing what that was, and we were joking about it amongst ourselves, and then 10 seconds later we see the lights coming down. We're like, oh, they found it, and we thought we'd already been caught. And you roll in, you're like, oh, someone pulling on bikes, and we're like, oh shit, that oh yeah, that was completely different. It made us giggle because we thought you were there for a completely different reason.
Yeah, I've a lot of guys serve a sentence in the jail cells for 10 months cleaning a cell because I didn't want to sit in Bolingbrook because it was RP. It was, I don't know. It's just it's just about being fun. Like, I mean, like when Marino's with cops, like he'll talk to them like they're cops. Like, you know, if he's interacting with a very serious cop, like someone that he thinks is very serious, like Taylor, for example, like he's gonna talk a little bit more seriously to Taylor. But if he's talking to someone like Milan, he's gonna be like, "Yo, what's up, dude? You know, you got any H?" Like, I'm hanging out in front of the hospital asking everyone that came to visit Milan if they had any H, to see if anyone would actually say anything, because they didn't know I was a cop, but everyone knew I was a cop. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just about, it's like Soul said, it's just about having fun. And like the day that Marino gets fired for something, like it's gonna suck, but hey, you know what? I'll just make another cop and we'll just
and who knows,
a different personality or something and see what happens.
And who knows? Maybe Marino will get to a point where him getting fired is actually like the second chapter in his story. I mean, you don't know.
I'll join the Death Dealers with Sawyer and the
Oh my god.
Cop Gang 2.0.
He jokes about that in character all the time.
Oh,
he's like, I'm gonna get fired and have to join the Death Dealers. He's like, that's where cops go.
That's where cops go. Well, it's funny because half the cops own motorcycles too, so all we really need is just to get fired, and we're already a cop. Yeah, we're already a biker gang as it is. Right. Nightshade says Thad last night on Braben, and the shift from fun and derpy burger shot shenanigans to one of the most deep and emotional talks with Leonard about Dazzler was one of my favorite RP scenarios of all time. Showed the two opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, that to me is what, because Rage is talking about having fun with a character, which, in my opinion, everyone who makes a character on the server should have the ultimate goal of having fun. It doesn't matter what's your version of fun. If your version of fun is serious, very, very strict crim RP, and you're having fun, fantastic. If yours is silly, derpy, shitlordy stuff, as long as it's within the server rules, have fun with it, go, do it. Whatever, that should be your ultimate goal, but it's the ability to read a scenario and mesh into that scenario and play into other people's role play to help further not only your story, but theirs. And if you have that mentality, you'll almost always, be satisfied at the end of it, in my opinion, anyways. Funny enough, I'm looking at like the talking points. We're not even anywhere near what we were talking about, which I love.
We knew it was going to happen.
I knew it was going to happen, and honestly, I plan for that. I put down talking points if we don't know what to talk about, but the whole point is to just enjoy a conversation regarding roleplay. I am curious though, because we kind of touched on it with Soul. She was mentioning Vaughn, her story that she's built in the past. She mentioned it with Ada. Backstory versus canon. This is something that I've talked about with people before, because, like, for example, Paco is a very headcanon based character. 90% of who he is as a character was developed before he was ever even on the server. It was a story of, when he was younger and stuff that happened to his younger brother that led into him being gone and all the stuff it was all headcanon. And I like that because I give this story to the character. But the flip side of that is, okay, so that's one element. What about stuff that is actual canon that is on the server? Stuff that is happening that it has developed the character inside the server versus the headcanon. So I'm curious, do you guys prefer a character with minimal backstory and then develop 90+% of their personality and their character on the server, or do you like to have a pretty well-rounded out, fleshed out character before they hit the server and then just let them react to the things that are happening in the server? UA, if you feel like answering that?
Yes, that's my answer. So yeah, with like I said before, all of my characters have minimal backstory.
Okay.
And yeah, so Towers was fit freak, like super fit endurance athlete. Like we're talking like double Ironman, like triathlons and things like that. So he's a super endurance athlete, and that's what he's done throughout his youth. And he came to Los Santos to do a triathlon that never happened, and they lost his bike and his gear, and he kind of stayed and liked it and thought, it's been a really nice place to do some triathlons and things. And then he's started up what did he do? He was doing Go Postal for a while, and then thought, actually, you know what, I could probably do bike courier stuff. I tried to do that, but nothing happened with it. And then someone pointed him in the way of trucking, and so he started doing that. And then he met another biker who he wanted to start a trucking company with. So he started building that and to try and make that. And this is all happening on server and just stuff that we rolled with. And I think flexibility and being able to look at your character and acknowledge that things do change is such a healthy thing. And I think it also helps with authenticity as well.
Yeah.
Being able to have a situation that your character's in and go, okay. And actually, I was going to talk about that with that last point that we had, I remember there was a therapy session that I had with Selvig on Jeff, and he was talking about relationships and the sort of women that he goes for. And he says like he likes women who are involved with work and are like emotionally unavailable. And Miles said something like, well, then maybe you just don't want a relationship then. If those are the types of women that you're going for, you know, who are married to their work and emotionally unavailable, it doesn't sound like you want a relationship. And he DM'd me afterwards and went, I thought I knew Jeff, but that just completely flipped it on its head. And I sort of sat there going, oh God, he's right. And that sort of flexibility and knowing that, you know, there is different assets of your character that you don't realize. And that's why I try not to make a backstory, because I don't want to be limited by it. I don't want to be limited by this, oh, this is what he was like in the past, because everybody changes depending on the situation that they have. Like Towers is so much more self-critical of everything that he does at work now, because of the things that he doesn't want to make a mistake. Like since taking over scenes and looking after scenes and running like incident command and things like that, he's like, if I screw up, one or more people die.
Yeah. And
so he'll go home after a shift and he'll go back through in his head every single call that he's had during that day. And he'll be like, okay, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What could I have done differently?
This sounds familiar to another EMS character.
Yeah.
Where have I heard this before?
I don't actually know. Who does that? Could it possibly be Bird?
No, it would be Gage.
Oh, gay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
There's been several RP scenarios where McNeil and Gage are having a conversation post work. Like, you know, they've just clocked off, and she is literally going through and fine tooth combing every encounter to something. Usually it's when a perma happens. If a character has died, she's going through and she is literally going, I could have done this. 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 And McNeil's like, whoa, calm the fuck down. Like, hold on for a second. Like, look at this from this and he has to help kind of like talk through the perspective. But yeah, oh, man, you're not alone in that. Towers is not the only one. What about you, Soul, in regards to like fleshed out character stories versus just letting it happen? You kind of spoken a little bit on Ada, how you just kind of threw her in, started kind of rolling with her, but then you established story later. Do you still kind of do that with Vaughn, or have you kind of still stuck to that or changed it or what?
I definitely evolved it, but I do want to touch on something that I see a lot of I know we don't want to talk about RP cops. I'm so sorry. I already brought you on the probably the most 3 passionate people about cop RP.
No.
Our opinions on it. But I see Seraphima and Taylor saying these things, like they have a story with their cops, and that's what I love about cops right now. Is that there's such a variety of cops. You don't know who's going to respond and how they're going to handle a situation. And we're all saying, oh, we're going to get fired for doing this, and that. But it's like, I'm glad that we feel confident enough in the server and how Cop RP is right now that we can delve into these stories and be actual characters and not be cookie cutter cops. I love that the server is like that right now, because the creativity and the role play of it and the interactions and the thought behind it, it just feels so nice and immersive that it doesn't, I love it. So
I agree. I 100% agree. That's why I developed McNeil. That's literally why I made him, because the stories it was starting to shift from mechanic to story, from mechanic to character, and I was like, that's what I want. I don't want a mechanic that's just basically doing what an AI could do. I want to have a character that has a story. He just so happens to be a cop. And at the same time that I was getting into Academy was when Bishop was really pushing that, when Runwild was really pushing that cops need to be characters, they're not just mechanics. And I was like, yes, please, let's go. So I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the difference in the medics as well. Like Blake is nothing like Towers.
Oh my gosh, no.
You know, it's night and day, but the difference in response just feels so nice and so authentic. It's like running into different characters. It's like a medic response. Am I going to get Blake who just screams at me, don't die? Or am I get Towers who like, you're not going to die. You're going to be great. This is going to be fine. Blake's like, don't die.
Yeah.
No. Calm down.
Yeah.
It feels nice to have different cops. Like maybe you'll get McBride, who is gonna sit there and be McDad and make you feel absolutely awful,
ashamed of your actions,
ashamed of yourself. Yeah. Taylor, you're like, I don't want to disappoint. Or are you gonna get Marino or Vaughn? You're like, what the fuck y'all doing? What's going on?
Yeah. Yep. It's great. I love the diversity within inside both of them so much.
The diversity in what was once just server mechanics is so refreshing. Because for a long time there, we were one thing and we're one thing only, and it feels so nice that people have brought back the diversity and the fun and the uniqueness to their characters.
Yep, I agree, and I'm super excited that I saw that announcement that we're getting DOC back, because that's just going to play right into the rest of it, and I'm so excited for that.
I think the biggest thing for me when making Towers was this guy needs a life. I made him have off-duty stuff. I didn't want him to be character, apply for EMS, wait, do thing, do academy, become EMS. He had a huge life, and people used to come up to him and be like, "Oh wow, you've got a Lynx. How do you afford that being an EMS?" I'm like, I've not always been an EMS.
Yeah.
Like I took a massive pay cut in becoming an EMS. And like we had this, like there's a few of us who just made characters that we wanted to be our civs. They wanted to be like Foon's applied for cop, Mighty's applied for cop, Rex has applied for cop. And we made these like civs that go out and do things and have lives, and injury squad. And it's great. And we just go out and do stupid things, but not stupid things.
No,
like
not
go and do
shitlord,
dangerous
but like,
things. Yeah. And we took Safi on Hudson out and just went out for the day, and it was like 5 or 6 of us, and we were like, I've never done like off-duty stuff because I just used to go to work and then go to sleep, and that was my life. And we're like, oh girl, we got a whole load of things, and it was great. And I think having off-duty lives is so important for building a character.
It is. It's hard. I'll say this because like McNeil right now has very limited friendship-based connections with inside his circle. It's mostly work connections. Now he does have his sergeant with Zane. He has his best friend with Bauer, and then he has his other friend with Dawn. But whenever I'm on the server, we're all on duty. It's very rare that we ever get to be like off-duty stuff. That's why I really enjoy writing partners with like Vaughn or with Bauer or with whoever. That because you get that kind of that glimpse of like off-duty conversational and everything about just who are you as a person and what do you like to do and all this kind of stuff. But you're on duty and you're still helping the server by being that mechanic that the server needs. And so I love writing with partners. I've always wanted to write with partners, McNeil. That's why when Vaughn was like, hey, everyone do this, I'm like, yes, please. Anytime you're on duty and you want a partner, call me because I hate writing solo.
I hate driving. I love doing comms though.
I love driving and I hate doing comms. So there you go.
She doesn't love doing comms all the time, though. She jumped in my car and is like, all right, you do comms during everything else, and I'll call it during the 1080.
Okay, oh my God. I've hated this since doing cadet, and I did thousands of hours in cadet base. Yeah. I hate calling 76 and 23 because I'm like, all right, we're going there. And they're like, no, we're not. And it's like, well, fuck, now I got to go do 1022. We ain't going after all. Yeah. And so it turned into, so I'm like, okay, you're doing 23 and 76 and responding. I will do 1080 calls and other traffic because I hate saying where we're going to go because I'm not the one driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just hate saying where I'm going to go, period. She was yelling at me the entire time.
His ass for not saying he's 76 or something because it
She's like, are you going to call 76? I'm just like,
sure.
I guess.
If I have to.
I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you on that. That off-duty time, writing as partners, having conversations in the office, it helps push the concept that these are characters, not mechanics. Because if it's just OOC conversations of you fucked up, you're suspended for 3 days. If it's OOC of like, you're clocking into the department and you're clocking out of the department, you have all these cars but you never drive them, you have a house but you're never there. Like it's like, well then what's the point? Like you're not a character at that point. You're a mechanic.
Yeah, I could tell you 100%. If command comes to me, OOC, and says you're suspended for 3 days, I'm gonna be like, okay, but my suspension's not starting until you come in character and tell me.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. I've loved that I've had conversations where I've been reprimanded in character on the server. Like,
if you're gonna reprimand me, do it in character.
Yes,
I like that.
Like Zane Taylor has pulled McNeil into the office. I think a total of two or three times since he's been an officer for very mild things, but it's been great conversation where it's clear that Zane's like, I know that like OOC were both like, it was clearly scuff. We know it was scuff. We can all agree it was scuff, but we still have to handle it in character. So I, as your sergeant, have to just at least say that I talked to you about this. And it's great because Zane gets to see that McNeil feels bad about what happened, or is like, I don't know what happened, but we're going to talk about it. And McNeil sees that Zane is very much like, I'm your sergeant. I'm going to back you on this, but I also have to be the guy to talk to you about it. And I love that it happens in character. And then OOC were like, yeah, that was good RP. Like, it's not like there's any animosity or anything. And Zane gets to be cop dad. Zane is 100% cop dad. Sorry, were you going to say something? I heard somebody start to talk.
Oh, no, I was laughing, but
okay.
I took us off on a tangent. Do you still want me to answer the question?
Okay.
Sorry, no, I'm not very good at this kind of thing.
No,
I saw them
you're
talking
fine.
about it in chat, and I wanted to add my 10 cents.
No,
while
you're
you guys
good.
were
You're good. Go
talking
for
about
it.
something else. So I've come a long way since making characters on Ada because I've been now role playing for over 5 years in the video game setting. Shout out to Burr for sparking that passion and continuing that passion. So when it comes to character creation now, I've taken a little bit out of Roxas's book,
Okay.
who makes the most in-depth characters I
Right.
probably know. And she did this, and I'm not going to say she's the only one who did this. I think she had collaborative work, or she might have been the only one who did this. I don't know. For a while there, I did not keep track of what was going on in the RP community. But she had this little questionnaire or like character building prompts that were like, what are the pros and cons? What are their personality flaws? What are they good at? What is this? What is that? And I was like, I've never thought about that. I've always just played what my flaws are and what I'm good and bad at, or like what I know and don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was creating Vaughn, I was like, you know what? I want to give her flaws. And I did. She has a lot of flaws. None of them have been discovered in character yet because people don't really know Vaughn. So she has a really bad flaw. Vaughn is a liar. She tells a lot of white lies and she lies about her past.
Interesting. Okay.
So people will ask her questions and she'll either A, be truthful, or B, lie about it. No one knows when she's lying or catches her in a lies because they don't know Vaughn very well.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a very interesting for me because I won't be able to keep up with the lies. And she's going to get caught in them sometime.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
So it's not like she lies about on duty stuff. Like she's not gonna be like, oh yeah, this guy had weed on him and he didn't have weed on him. Like she knows not to lie about that stuff, but she lies about herself and her personality, you know? She lies about her backstory. She has a very dark backstory and things that she does not want discovered.
Interesting.
And
okay.
she steers away conversation from her. She doesn't want to talk about herself.
Mm-hmm.
Or she'll give like little hints like, oh yeah, I was a gymnast when I was a kid, but she won't talk about the reason why she broke her arm and stopped being a gymnast was because her father did something to her and broke her arm, you know?
Yeah.
So she has commitment issues and stuff like that. And the reason why she became a cop was she was trying to fix herself on that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But she lies why she's a cop and she lies about herself and her backstory and she tries not to talk about herself. And that's the kind of character I've never played. I've always been very honest because I like to think I'm a pretty honest person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a huge flaw, like no one ever wants to play a liar. No one wants to be that kind of character. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make Vaughn a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to make her personality quirks, or like the good thing about her is that she likes to help people. Like everyone who becomes a cop wants to help somebody, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone who becomes a medic wants to help somebody. So that's not like a unique quirk, but it's a quirk to her.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to help people. I want to help animals. She volunteers at an animal shelter during the day and gets on shift as a cop to pay the bills, you know?
I mean, it works.
Yeah, and it brought like a different kind of like depth to her story. I know it's like not a interesting, it's not really, I guess, true to character because like, why would you be cop secondary?
I mean, if it makes sense for the character, then it's true to the character, in my opinion. It doesn't have to fit anybody else's mold. It just needs to fit your mold that you built for that character.
Yeah, she failed out of veterinary school, so she became a cop.
There you go.
Well, but it's just something I wanted to bring events to the server and give another like life to the server aside from just being a mechanic.
Yeah.
I think it makes for some good events too. So I mean,
sure.
Like
I love the car show.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, and so I guess what I'm saying is I took a page out of Roxas's book where it's like I gave Vaughn a lot of pros and cons, likes and dislikes, quirks and, you know, subtle things that like I know that is true to my character. And yeah, she has a very in-depth backstory, but none of it's canon yet.
Okay.
Because no one asked Vaughn about it.
Okay. What about Rage? What about you? When it comes to building your characters, whether it's Marino, Arturo, Jasper, whoever, are you kind of in the camp of I'm going to build a super extensive backstory and make it super specific and well written, or am I just going to basically come up with a shell, throw them on the server, and let backstory figure itself out?
So I mean, it really depends on the character. I've tried it a couple of different ways. I mean, with Jasper, anyone that's listened to me talk on and on about Jasper, which has happened a few times, they'll know that for the most part, Jasper's backstory when I brought him to family was all actually established in RP on another server called True Los Santos RP. He was a cop previously. The person that he was in love with was killed. Obviously, like, we changed up some of it to kind of fit the story more. But yeah, that's eventually what led to his downfall was bits and pieces from that RP on TLS RP. Which is what led to like him feeling bad for Jesse because they quote unquote killed Danny, and it just led to the spiral. And I really liked that. But then I've had characters where I've kind of planned out their backstory, and I've planned out their like quirks and stuff like that a lot more. And that's when you get, for me at least, characters like Levi Adams, who was a fun character, but I never really got into the groove with Levi. Like, I never really felt good with Levi, and eventually ended up just kind of shelving him and walking away from that RP entirely because I hated the character. I hated playing the character. I hated anything to do with the character. I loved the people that I was role-playing with at the time, but the character was just not enjoyable to me. But I mean, for the most part, I usually will try to pick out a couple of things from the backstory, and then just for the most part, I make it all up on the spot. Like with Thorn, he had a brother named Rockwell because one day Laveau was asking about his family, and like I just came up with names on the spot.
Gotcha.
And for some reason I came up with Rockwell as a first name, which is absolutely stupid, but it happened. But yeah, I mean, with Marino, he's kind of he's got a couple of things. Like, I mean, I've got a couple of things in his backstory that are definitely like solidified. And one of those things is actually something that Soul helped me come up with, and it's actually something that he is actually kind of starting to struggle with now on the server that he's been around. And people have been making comments about his hair and stuff. Like, Marino, I guess his biggest flaw is that he's very self-conscious. Growing up, like, he was always this really fat kid, and like he got picked on constantly, and like up through high school, like he just got picked on and like made to feel bad about himself and everything like that. So like at the tail end of high school and like into college, like he got really into fitness and like got himself, you know, into shape the way he is now. Like he's very self-conscious. He wants people to like the way he looks. He wants to like the way he looks. So like with everyone making fun of his hair and like Brooks and Vaughn calling it, saying he has a toupee and stuff, he went and had his hair cut because it makes him feel very self-conscious.
Oh no.
Yeah. So like I'm really excited to actually get to explore that. But yeah, it's a really big flaw with him. And I'm interested to see if people kind of pick up on it as we go.
I think that right there, what you just said about something so tiny that only you know about, those are some of the most amazing RP moments where you have like something that you've developed with the character of like a small trigger for something, whether, you know, in this case you're talking about he gets picked on, so it's his hair, or something, and no one else knows about it, no one else is aware of it, and that little trigger gets flipped and you react to it the way your character would, and you wait to see who picks up on it, wait to see who finds that little tiny RP cookie, that little RP nugget of who that character, a little more piece to the puzzle of who that character is. And it's like a little treasure hunt sometimes. I think it's really cool. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's like, oh wait, I know why he's doing this, because this thing, you know, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's honestly the part I look forward to most with Vaughn, is her having enough conversations with someone and they actually care to remember the things, and then they ask her maybe a similar question and she gives a completely different answer, and they catch her in that lie, and then she has to explain to them why she is changing her story so much. Like I said, she doesn't lie to be malicious. She doesn't want to like lie about what criminals are doing. She just lies about herself.
It's a defensive mechanism.
She doesn't want people knowing who she is. She just wants to be seen as this lighthearted, fun, she doesn't care about anything, just wants to help people kind of thing. When it's obviously a mechanism for her to try to help heal herself. Because she struggled so much as a child and had so much trauma as a child that she's just trying to ignore it and heal everyone else. I mean, honestly, that is 100% why she goes so easy on Perry.
Makes sense.
Perry sees what she kind of went through. I mean, she never had to deal with drugs, but her family members were heavily involved in drugs. And homelessness and stuff like that. And Vaughn sees that, and she just wants to help. She wants to do everything in her power to help. Give him a meal. She went hungry so many nights. She wants to help him get better. She doesn't want him to go to jail because she knows jail doesn't do anything to help people. She sees the flaws in her system, and she wants to be something that is a barrier between the flawed system and with the people who need the help the most. She's not a therapist. She's
a community police officer, which is really cool because there's a couple of those that are popping up. Zane's one of them, Bowers one of them, Vaughn's one of them, McNeil definitely was one of them. I think I know there's countless others that are starting to pop up with inside the scope of the PD, which is really cool to see that it's not just I'm here to punish your actions or I'm here to police you guys. I'm here. It's to their side of that. It's I'm here to serve the community, and I'm gonna figure out ways to do that in roleplay. Like you were talking about Frank Perry. McNeil found him. And he was outside he was outside Pillbox, and he was asking for, I can't remember what it was. I think he was asking for drugs or something like that. And McNeil's like, I can't give you drugs, but I can't. It's like, do you have a place to stay tonight? And he goes, well, no. I said, all right, come with me. And we walked from Pillbox to the Pink Cage, and McNeil rented him a hotel room for a couple of nights because he wanted him to be able to take a shower and have a bed to sleep on. And Frank was like, thank you very much. And it was just really cool for people to see McNeil in the light of who he is. He's a community police officer. He's not here. Like he could have arrested Frank for loitering. He could have arrested him for vandalism. He could have done any number of things. Instead, he's like, no, I'm gonna get you a place to sleep and a place to get yourself clean tonight. And I'm very similar in the way that I built McNeil in the sense of like, he has a very drawn out backstory because he was a lot of his backstory, same as Rage Guy when he was mentioning Jasper. McNeil's backstory is largely based on the previous community that I was part of called Pandemonium RP. He was a cop there. Originally when I built McNeil, he was like Ada. I built him I had never roleplayed before. He was basically me. He actually kind of looks similar to me. And he is basically I just built a character, threw him onto the server, and people started asking me these in-character questions, and I didn't have answers because I didn't know how to roleplay. And I realized it clicked right away in that conversation. This character is going to have a whole other life that I don't have. I need to give it to him. So I sat down and spent an entire night writing his backstory, which is pretty much the same one now. But then I threw him onto the server again, and I started actually interacting with characters, and I started, answering questions more accurately. And he started as a trucker. He was just a civilian. That he did trucking. He hung out with his friends, and one of his best friends was in the police department. And he noticed that their police department was severely understaffed, and they needed extra people. And in his backstory, he had experience working alongside the police when he was younger, but never actually was one. And so he ended up applying for the police department, ended up getting in, and ended up becoming a police officer. And even more so, he became one of their lead training officers. Everyone wanted McNeil to train them. And so I kept that element to his personality, that he's a teacher. He likes educating people. He likes answering questions and trying to educate people the best he can. And then on top of that, he had all these interactions with the police department. So McNeil's mentioned in character on TFRP several times that he's buried a fellow officer after a botched bank robbery, and the officer went in and guns blazing and got killed. And that happened on Pandemonium. I can't remember the name of the cop. He had a weird name. But the cop, it was the bank up on Vinewood. It was the big bank on Vinewood, and a group of criminals had gone in to take the bank. And it was actually a really intense scenario. You had 4 guys inside the bank. There was 4 people that had been on the rooftops outside the bank. I mean, they had it was a little over the top because they had RPGs and stuff, because the server was very, very open as far as that went. But it still felt very authentic. So I'm careful with what elements of that I bring into the story. But the gist of it is a crew of criminals tried to rob the bank, and it didn't go well. And when an officer tried to go in to rescue the hostages, he got shot and killed. And McNeil was the one who found him. McNeil found the body, tried administering CPR and whatever he could. They tried to get EMS on scene. The EMS that arrived on scene was the woman he was dating at the time. And then his friend, who was his deputy chief, she starts breaking down because her guy just, her officer, one of her men just died. And so McNeil had to be one to calm her down. And so that whole story is part of McNeil's backstory. That actually happened. And so I bring that over to TFRP. And so anytime people are worried that an officer's going to die, McNeil's like, I've already buried too many officers. I can't do another. Because when he came back after his break, I was gone for about 2 months. I come back to find out that, who was it? Blasco had died, Dazzler had died, and Stone had died, all while I was gone. And he was friends with all 3 of those people. So he comes back and he's like, great, I'm losing more people that I care about. So it's starting to take his toll on him, and it's starting to develop. But he has way more of this backstory that I developed before and I tried to bring in, but I've been trying to lean towards not mentioning and bringing that up as much and just kind of letting that simmer in the background and using more of what actually happens on the server as part of his story, which is working, but because I don't play him as much as I used to, it takes a toll. But, so one of the talking points, the only ones really left on this list that I kind of really wanted to talk about, like there's another one that'd be fun to talk about, but one of the ones that I know is kind of a topic that keeps coming up lately, a lot of in a lot of areas, is the concept of separation of in character and out of character and tricks to maintain that. The reason I bring this up is because I know that everybody, because a lot of us use, like, I know Moreno is Rage's voice, McNeil is mine, and a couple of UA's characters kind of are very similar to UA's actual voice, and I know Vaughn is a little bit obviously different for Soul, but everybody has like tricks that they use with characters that they build to maintain A, the separation between in character and out character, as well as B, how to stay in character, how to remind yourself to that like what you do to shift from you into your character or from one character to another. And I'm curious if you guys have any tricks or tips that you guys have developed through your courses of, of roleplay to do that. Do you guys have anything that you guys have developed or thought of or figured out?
I still screw up. There's times when I'll be playing my criminal, and it's usually when I'm tired.
Yeah.
But I'll be playing my criminal. So none of my characters actually use my voice. They use aspects of my voice. So Towers is a lot more cheery and happy, and I don't normally talk like this.
Yeah.
And then Jason, my crim is just grumpy version of me.
Yeah. I love Jason.
And he's a lot more lazy, and I don't really give a fuck, and it's always like that.
Yeah.
But then you've got like Miles, who is a lot more enunciated. He's very calm. He's
Miles,
very cool.
Yeah. We could all listen to Miles do ASMR for hours and be happy.
Yeah. So they're all sort of aspects of my voice that I don't necessarily have to think too hard about. When it comes to someone like Darren, where I'm doing I'm not very good at accents and I'm not very good at voices. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to characters like Rusty, he's my West Country photographer. He goes down there and he always comes from the West Country. He's a farmer's boy and stuff like that. Gosh. I'm not, though I can do general accents, but I have to really think about it. And I can't just jump into the character. And I've jumped into the character. I've jumped onto Darren before and I've gone, I don't know how to do his voice. And then I'll just have to keep saying things with a Scouse accent to try and get into the accent again. Mm-hmm. But so many times I'll switch from Jason to Alex and I'll walk up to Tabby and go, you all right, how's it going? And she'll go, oh my God, what's wrong with your voice? And I've gone, it's Jason. And then I go, I was like, no, nothing, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was just a wee bit tired. It's fine. It's fine.
Just got a frog in my throat. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so for you have your voices, like, and you have to kind of, like you said, you say repeated words to get into your voices.
Yeah.
What about
with Darren? With Darren, it's kind of like, right, mate. Because there was a sketch. I think it was. I wanted to say it was. Was it the Fast Show? Someone will know. Where they had like Scousers, and it was like super stereotypical Scousers. They're like, hey, calm down, mate, calm down.
Yeah.
And that was all they used to say. And if you can say that and get it, and I at school, my form tutor was a Scouse, and she always used to say, hey, am I talking to the wall, year 9?
Oh, okay.
And that, if I can say that, I can then. It was Harry Enfield and Chums. Thank you, Foon. And then I can get back into it because I heard it so much that it is there, but I have to really think about it to get into that character.
That makes perfect sense. Honestly, I've done the same thing with many of my characters, but we'll wait to get to me. What about you, Soul? How do you shift from character to character? How do you get into the character, whether the headspace or the voice? Like, what sort of tricks have you developed?
Okay, so I have it easy. I am diagnosed with what we call poo brain. I cannot play multiple characters at once.
Okay.
Because if I do that, I'll mix up character interactions and be like, maybe I had a crim I played while playing Laveau. Maybe Danny would have an interaction with someone, and then I'd go play Laveau and I'd be like, oh, hey, oh, wait, this character doesn't know them. And then it's the whole like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Or I actually don't remember that information because I'm stupid like that. I have a hard time remembering things as it is. in real life. So I don't know what's going on with my brain, but it's very hard for me to separate things. So I can only play one character at a time, sadly, even though I have all these character ideas and stuff like that. I just, to avoid meta and stuff like that, I can't do more than one.
That's fair.
So it's very easy for me then, because all I have to remember is what I almost said what Vaughn does. But like you said, Vaughn has a very strong country accent, so it's pretty easy to go into that. I'm from Texas, so it's like real easy just to go into that accent without even thinking about it, because I think about how I talked to my mom earlier in the day, and this is how we talk.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Well, and it feels very authentic. I mean, I live in Missouri. I was raised in California, but I live in Missouri, so I'm around like 4 different kinds of accents around here. But it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel unnatural. It feels like a very just pleasurable Southern accent.
And I don't think about it, and I'm sure sometimes she sounds more country, and sometimes she probably sounds more like I'm doing it now. Sorry, thinking about it. I'm thinking about Vaughn. I go into that headspace of country accent. But I have a slight one in real life, anyways. But definitely, playing Vaughn has brought that out so much more. So it's like I'm sure her accent fluctuates depending on what kind of headspace I am. Like when I'm tired, I'm pretty sure I've cleared the store in my regular voice without realizing it.
Oh, I hear Thad do it on West all the time. Like when he's doing dispatch or when he's doing call outs, like you'll hear when Wes is just talking with you, it's very Southern. Like you hear that drawl, it's very there. But when tensions are rising and things are happening quick, you hear it just fade away and it becomes Thad for a minute. But then he gets right back to it.
Yeah, like after Ada died, I played a character called Riley Maddox. I'm sure no one remembers.
Oh, I remember Riley.
And I can't even do her voice anymore, but she had like that raspy voice and like kind of talk like this.
Yeah.
And it's like when I was in intense situations, that disappeared. Yeah. Because my brain could only focus on like the situation and not so much on the character I was playing. And that's kind of what I don't like about my role play is like sometimes if I'm not focusing hard enough or I'm going off of raw emotions like I do so often, and what I think I excel at in role play is that I kind of lose the accents and kind of lose the headspace for a second, because at that point I'm just purely reacting with emotions, with authentic kind of feelings. So I kind of lose that. So sometimes with me when playing characters, the line gets blurred what's OOC and what's in character, because I like to play the authentic emotional characters that I have to put myself into the characters.
Yeah.
So there are times when people will message me, be like, especially on Ada back in the day, would be like, "Oh my God, are you okay? You were like bawling your eyes out." And it's like, no, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I do have to put my emotions into my characters so that to me they feel real, and I feel like it draws everyone else into having these authentic emotions as well.
Yeah. Well,
and same thing with when I go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
I'm never done. You'll learn that about me. I will continue to talk about myself because I'm a narcissist. And it's the same thing when people think I'm angry OOC. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, my emotions are high, and I am angry, but I'm not angry at you or you OOC. My anger's not targeted towards you. It's targeted towards your character, because in that moment, my character is angry.
Yeah, of course. Well, at the end of the day, very, very few people that are involved in our server or in roleplay in general are professional trained actors who are able to go through all that training, understand the complete separation of character and actor. We're people, and we're playing a video game at the end of the day. So when you really boils down to anger and sadness and all that range of emotions, of course, OOC, we're going to be affected to a point. It's up to us to be able to target that and keep it in character and keep it focused at the character, not the player. And that's the trick. And that's something that a lot of us just take time to learn. Like for me, I struggled with that on Paco. I really struggled with the separation, but when it came to anger or frustration, the separation between the character and the player. I've learned that since then, obviously, and I've been able to distinguish that and be able to a lot better about it. But it's something that is extremely important. And like last night, Diego was having a conversation with Teresa in the car, and Teresa broke down bawling. She broke down crying. I knew Tease was fine. I knew that OOC, she was 100% fine. It was the character. But some people who are not accustomed to that really go, are they okay? Like, should I DM them? Like, is everything okay? So I definitely can relate to the concept of like putting your emotions into a character and, having it kind of affect you a little bit, OOC. Rage, what about you? What's some of the tricks that you've done to get into your various range of characters, or ways that you've been able to make that separation a little bit easier for yourself?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't really like to do accents and voices all that much, just because I mean, my voice is already kind of lighter than a lot of people's as it goes. And it just kind of makes it a lot of strain to try to do different voices. Like, I mean, if I try to do a really deep voice, it just doesn't come out very well. And if I try to do a really high voice, it just sounds really annoying. I think the last time I played a different voice character was probably Simon. And then there was like a shitlord Crim that I did with Shadow for like a night, but then we got shot and dead. For the most part, like separating my characters from each other, because I do play multiple characters at a time, I usually just kind of rely on the accentuation of my words. So for example, I mean, like when I played Jasper, like whenever I talked like him, like it was always a very like slow, serious kind of like talking, you know. He's always like, okay, Luca, listen, this is what we need to do. But then like playing other characters, you know, it's kind of like a bit more lightheartedness to my voice. Which it is kind of how I'm doing Marino and Milo now. Obviously, they look like two different characters anyways. But I think that for the most part, like that's what I rely on to tell the difference between my characters. And it's just... it can be difficult at times, I guess, because like, for instance, when Marino gets into really serious situations, like he had a really serious talk with Winston, like he got very Jasper-like, and that like he's, you know, he's like, okay, listen, I'm not gonna send you to jail for this, you know. But I try to keep him more lighthearted. As far as like staying in character, for me, I've never personally really had a big issue with like separating things from characters. Like the stuff I know on Milo, I know on Milo. The stuff I know on Marino, I know on Marino. Like I've always been decent at compartmentalizing that, I guess. Not saying that I've never fucked up, because I obviously have.
Oh, we all do it at least once or twice.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like for the most part, like it's not something that I struggle with as far as being like, okay, I don't feel like I can play, you know, multiple characters. If I ever do like run into a situation where I'm not sure, do I know that cop on this guy? I'm just like, hey, trooper, you know, or whatever. Like,
you err on the side of caution. It's just,
it's usually pretty easy to play off, you know, and if they know me, then they'll be like, yeah, how you doing, so and so. So I've never really had an issue with that, and I don't really have any like special way that if I'm gonna play Marino, I don't really like sit there and like, all right, this is what I got to do to get in character or anything like that. Because I have a lot of my characters like are just kind of, in a way, all of them have a little bit of me injected into them. More so than probably a lot of people do. Like a lot of people separate themselves like completely from their character when they're like becoming that character. For me, it's just kind of like I embrace that I suck at accents and I can't do voices and I'm just gonna be mediocre. And I just roll with it, and it has seemed to work out pretty well in the past. So I'm just gonna keep doing it until I get banned. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
I know that when it comes to, because I've played a wide range of characters similar to UA, where I've got tons of different characters that I've played, and like Rage, I play a lot of them, and UA, I play a lot of them at the same time. I mean, like right now, I'm kind of balancing 3 characters at once. I don't really play Paco that much, but I have hopped onto him a couple of times, and I play Diego. 2 very similar characters as far as personality and voice. Personality, I've been able to figure out and distinguish the 2 as far as what they would and wouldn't do. And I've worked on kind of developing some little tricks to distinguish their personalities and their voices apart from each other, because they're both very similar. Paco's is very gruffy, has a very gravelly sound to it. I have to remember to put that gravel and that kind of hoarse voice into Paco's, whereas Diego is basically just me with a Hispanic accent. The other thing is, right now, Paco sounds very sad. Every time he talks, he sounds just very exhausted and sad and just kind of depressed almost. He's not, that's just how it sounds. Whereas Diego is very kind of higher up. He's very happy. He's very like, he's living life right now. And so those have kind of helped me distinguish those 2 apart. As far as information, I'm kind of like with Rage. I haven't really ever struggled with like, oh, I know this on this character. Do I know it on this character? It's just, I kind of just remember that, oh, Diego knows this and McNeil knows this and vice versa. I mean, obviously, every once in a while, you're going to slip up and make a mistake, but it's just how you play it off. And it's usually 9 times out of 10, people who know you play multiple characters will just play it off with you. It's never really been a big issue. So I haven't really ever struggled with that. But like playing a cop and then playing a serious crim, there's definitely like, I have to be on the ball of like on both characters of like what I know and what I don't know, because I'll learn something on McNeil that I shouldn't know on Diego and vice versa. So I have to be very careful about, okay, this character knows this character doesn't, and I've just got to be on the ball with that. But I've never really struggled with it that in a way that has ever compromised roleplay, which is good. And then as far as I saw Sarah mention it in chat, and it hasn't been brought up yet, but Sarah mentioned it in chat. Music. This is something that I started doing a while back, but then Oddities basically just made it even worse because because Oddities' music prowess is unmatched. I mean, she can build a playlist around a character that you've never seen before. So I started picking and pulling her brain on songs and asking for suggestions and whatnot. And now I'm the same way. I mean, I've got Spotify right here, and I have a whole folder for GTRP, and I have at least one playlist for every one of my characters I've ever played, unless I've deleted them already. And then I have playlists for suspension, suspense, intense, anticipation, chill, relaxed. I have a running play, like a music for running from the cops, and I have a playlist for chasing people as a cop. I've got playlists for when I had a DJ character. I got playlists when I played my derpy British character. I've got playlists that are all across the board, and they have always helped. If I'm struggling to get into the headspace of a character and I put on their playlist, not the one I can play on stream, but the one that I can play and listen to myself, like Paco's playlist, I call it, I have a Cholo playlist basically of music he used to listen to, or I used to listen to on him when he was back in Avago days. If I'm struggling to get into like the gangbanger headset and like really get into that mindset, I turn that playlist on, and after a couple of songs, it's so much easier. So music for me is my like golden skeleton key to get into the mindset of a character more so than anything else. It's easy. It helps a lot. And there's something about finding a song or a collection of music that just fits a character perfectly. If you can find one or two songs that's like, oh my gosh, this is my character, it helps so much in helping you visualize your character and helping you get into the mindset, at least for me anyways. I don't know if it's everybody. I don't know. I know that I saw Soul mention something about how she struggles with making music for her characters, but I know for me, it's imperative that I have music to go along with whatever character I'm playing. I know that when I started doing Red Dead Redemption RP, it was hard for me because I wanted to have music to back up these characters to help me get into the mindset, and I was struggling to find music from that era that worked for what I was trying to do. So that was my trick anyways.
Wow, I just feel like the worst RPer ever. Damn. Yeah, no, I can't do any of that. And I really wish I could, because I feel like I'm missing out on such an aspect of character creation. Because I'm not good with music. The only music I listen to is stuff people recommend. And then like the whole being able to play multiple different characters. I wish I could do that. I'm so jealous. I'd have to put my 100% focus into my character in the moment that I can't. If I listen to music, I'll pay attention to the music and not the RP. And that's why haven't really been streaming RP lately, because I'm trying to get into that headspace of being able to do multiple things at once. Because I found myself pay attention to chat more than RP, and then I wasn't enjoying my roleplay anymore because I didn't know what was going on. And I just don't know if I have like a short-term memory Dory brain or what it is, but I wish I could listen to music. I wish I had a playlist. The only thing I had closest to a playlist was Ada's theme song, and I haven't had a song for a character since. I'm gonna have to DM Oddities and be like, hey, help me, because I really kind of thing, because I feel like I'm missing out on like an integral part of RP that people like. Even Rage, I know he built playlists for his characters too, and I feel like I'm missing out on something because I don't have that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know how y'all do it. That's impressive to me.
Well, sometimes you can't find music for your character. Like, there's just times where I've had characters and I never was able to really find music that, like, me and Tease ran a brother sister duo like over a year ago, almost 2 years ago now, called the Ward Twins. The whole concept was that the last name wasn't actually their last name, that they were wards of the state. They never knew their last name, so they just called themselves the Wards. And they were like this synth wavy punk duo that was just basically supposed to go around and get into trouble. And unfortunately, there was a miscommunication between myself and her on how we wanted to play the characters, so we never played them the correct way, and then we just kind of never played them again. But when it came to the music for the characters, I was really struggling to figure out what kind of style I wanted, and she was the one who showed me a couple synthwave songs. I mean, obviously I'm a huge fan of synthwave, but it just didn't cross my brain to use that as their playlist. And she made one and invited me to it. It was like, hey, here, check this out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This fits their style way better than I could have imagined. And so then they became, they were synthwave style. Like, everything that they were listening to was very high octanes, 80s synth style, which was really, really fun, but it never quite hit me. And then go ahead.
No, go ahead. I've got a long tangent to bring up.
That's okay. I actually lost my train of thought, so go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, Sol was saying that she wishes like she could play multiple characters and everything. She has to focus on one character. I think that like it's easy to look at that as a weakness, and I feel like maybe a lot of people do. But I think honestly, like it's a very important strength to have, because by focusing all your attention on that character, I feel like, at least for me, like I feel like you deliver a much more emotionally charged interaction than I can. Like I'm just like, because I have these multiple characters, yeah, I can keep them compartmentalized, but I can't deliver the same emotional strength that you can by putting your all into one character. Like you're putting all of your eggs into one basket, and you're literally just pushing everything that you have into that one character. And like that's not something I can do because I'm playing multiple characters. Because I'm always worried about, okay, well, am I staying true to Marino? Am I acting too much like Milo? You know, like it's you don't really have to worry about that, which means that you are able to like just completely deliver.
I agree 100%
on every like experience that Vaughn has, you know, and I think that's a really strong aspect of roleplay that honestly, like a lot of people don't get to experience because they do play multiple characters.
I agree 100. And it was something I was going to mention earlier, and I'm glad you brought that, because I actually forgot and my brain derailed, and then you brought it back, because that's exactly what I was going to say is, you know, think of it like a glass of water. If you've got one full pitcher of water and you put all that water in one glass, it's full. And so you get a full glass of water. Whereas if you split it up into 6 glasses, you just get a little bit in each one. So instead of giving a little bit of yourself to 6 characters, you're giving all of yourself to one, which means anyone who's interacting with your character is getting the full RP experience from that character, from you, from the story, instead of just getting a small part. Now, some people can play multiple characters and give their all. Like West feels great. G feels great. Thad is able to play multiple, and Braben too. Thad plays several characters across the board, and you get an amazing experience from each character. Not everybody can do that. If you split up, if you're splitting yourself into multiple characters, it sometimes can feel a little shallow. I mean, this is coming from someone who plays multiple characters, and you don't feel like you're giving your all. Whereas, you know, if you're playing, I mean, I loved Vaughn the second we started interacting, like immediately. And so, I mean, if that's a testament to the character, then there you go. That you put all yourself into one character, and it attracts other role players around you that want to be around that character. So I wouldn't see it as a weakness at all. And now the music thing, I totally get. Wanting to have music and everything, I get that, because it's hard, but it's such a nice little cherry on top of the character and top of the role play.
Well, thank you.
So we're getting down to the wire on time. I think we have time for one more topic, which was, this is something that has been brought up in multiple conversations over the course of like my entire time role playing, especially considering interacting within a specific thing. So the concept is basically I wrote down research for the right response. And essentially what I mean by that is like how you're like, what sort of research, what sort of Googling, what sort of, questions do you ask that help you figure out how your character is going to react to, drugs, to a specific crime, to cops, to other specific kind of player. And like what are you finding out there to help kind of develop that? Because I know a lot of people, especially like right now with the recent update to the server, and we've just got 21 different narcotics that are now on the server, and like some people haven't even heard of half this stuff. Like, how is your character going to react to some of that? Like, what are they like when they find something? Like, oh, are they just going to experiment with it? Are they going to stay away from it? Like, is there stuff that you're doing to research that? Or is it just kind of like, I have no clue, we're just going to see how it goes? I guess UA will start with you and see, on that topic of like, whether it's, interacting with drugs, interacting with crime, cops, are you doing research to this effect? Or are you just kind of letting it play out naturally? Or are you just kind of winging it?
So I'm probably going to be giving an answer from a different point of view that some people in chat, or maybe many people in chat, would have for it, because none of my characters do drugs or drink, not even my Krim. His backstory is that because he was a sort of transport guy, he would have people call him up in the middle of the night when he was asleep and say, hey, look, we need you to do a job, deliver this to Germany in the next half an hour. Like, we need you here now. So he never had the luxury of going out and, getting drunk or getting hungover or being involved with any drugs and stuff like that. So that's his thing. And then we've got, actually, when we were playing the homies, the first, it was not that long ago, I think a month or so ago, that I had a character that did weed or any drug for the first time in a year and a half since I've been playing Family. That was the first time I'd ever done any drug on. Oh,
that's funny.
On TFRP. But for me, I knew what the drug list was before it got put in, and I'd done all my research because I'd built the SOPs for EMS stuff with drugs and treatment and the treatment guide. So my research came from a hey, this is how we need to treat this, and I had to be prepared so that when all these drugs came out, we had this thing where we were like, okay, there's going to be all these drugs coming out, people are going to be finding them, and people are going to be taking them, and since you can overdose on them, we need EMS to know what to do about them.
That would be good.
Yeah, so I had to do all this research before it came out, and then rewrite my treatment guide to make sure everything was all up to date, and then we had all the knowledge that people could use in order to treat the people. So yeah, that was my research. I mean, the only person that would probably, of my characters, do drugs would probably be Darren or Jesus, I would have thought. My Chav or Jesus. And because of my EMS research, I now know what they all do. So I've had to do it from that, and that's made it probably advantageous when it comes to doing it on other characters, because I have all that. Okay, this is what can happen.
Nice. Okay. All right. Soul, what about you? What when you had like any of your characters that you've ever played, whether it was Ada or Riley or Vaughn, how have you built your character to react to certain things, or is it just kind of like a case by case basis, and is it just kind of by the seat of your pants?
I would probably have to focus on one character because well, you know, each one had such great cases on how they interacted with things. But first, I want to ask UA to give me a list of the EMS drug things, because I am afraid to be put on a list. And the only drug I have extensively researched is black tar heroin. So I need to look at that so I can get a little bit more familiar. And if you already have the list and thing down, I need to read it.
Hi, tease.
So I don't have
we were just
to
talking
make
about
one of my own. I'm lazy like that.
Same, bro. Same.
So with Ada, you know, her reactions were purely emotional based. She was a very emotional, broken character.
Okay.
So it was just getting in the headspace of everything makes the girl cry.
Okay.
So that was easy. With Riley, she was a very burned character. You did something against her and she burned bridges and she tried to fuck you over.
Okay.
So she's very narcissistic in the fact that every interaction and everything was like, you either do what you can to appease her, or she fucked you over, or she hated you, or on a flip of a dime. Like, I think Rage's character Levi said to Riley one day, and they're pretty good friends then, and he said to Riley one day, "It sounds like you gargled a bunch of razor blades." And Riley's, one of her things was she hated people pointing out how gravelly her voice was. Since that day on over, she wanted to just murder Levi. They were friends. And with her backstory, her parents had kicked her out of the house, so she had no loyalties. So anyone who tried to fuck her over, and even towards the end, Jeff started fucking her over, and she loved Jeff. She would die for Jeff. She had killed for Jeff. And then he did that and did some things that it just all went downhill.
Oof.
And now with Vaughn, with the drug update, before the drug date wasn't even a thing, before I even knew about it, Vaughn has a very bad weakness with black tar heroin. She will not deal with it. She will not respond with it.
Interesting.
She will not, and not that she's necessarily done black tar heroin, but it's part of her. It's an integral part of her backstory. She wants nothing to do with it.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
So her and Marino pulled up to a drop off at the construction site, and what was on the ground, what did she see? Black tar heroin. She's like, "Marino, you're taking this." And she pretty much walked away and was like, "I'm gonna walk around the construction site," and played it off as she's gonna look around for more of it. But in that moment, she started to panic.
Ooh.
Because that is something she has very strong feelings towards, and doesn't really know how to keep this facade up of everything's fine, everything's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Vaughn's easygoing. This is a great situation. Like, she'd rather sit there and be shot at and potentially be bleeding out on the ground than even go near heroin.
Interesting. Okay.
So anytime there's going to be a heroin call, Vaughn will not be responding. Even if she's the one on duty, only one on duty, she's not going to be the one responding to a heroin call, because that's not something she can deal with. Now, if it's a player on the ground, no Dean, she'll have to do it, but she won't be calm. She won't be at towers. She'll be more of a Blake screaming, and upset, and probably crying and having a panic attack while she's trying to save this person. And it's probably is what's going to get her in trouble, is dealing with something involving heroin.
Interesting. Okay. What about Rage? What about you? What have you done with your characters to have them react to drugs, crime, cops, etc.?
For the most part, I just wing it.
Okay.
I mean, I've done some research in the past, obviously, with some things. And obviously, I just got Average to give me all that work that he did on this drug overdose. Great job, bud. You're beautiful. But I mean, yeah, for the most part, I mean, I just try to. I mean, for the most part, like if you have any like knowledge of drugs, like from the news and stuff, like it's pretty easy to tell. And even with the statuses that they give you when you take them now, it's pretty easy to tell like what's intended from them. And just kind of play off of that. But I mean, even before that, I mean, as far as like dealing with different experiences, like I usually just try to roll with whatever I feel is right in my gut. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I have an issue with that I could probably do with researching better is probably like medical stuff. I mean, like cops are supposed to know basic first aid. Well, I didn't actually feel like researching it, so I decided that Marino is going to be really bad at first aid. Like he gets like he really freaks out like when someone's life is on the line. He's not good at like bandaging people up. Like anytime that I've had to bandage someone up, like it shows in the slash me's. Like I'm like slash me like wraps the bandages around the wound. It's a very loose bandage. It's not very good. Like it's obviously like in their hands to play off of it how they want to, but I feel like it adds more depth to the RP than just being like this cop that knows everything about first aid, you know?
Yep.
Which is obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's what your cop is, if that's how your cop is, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like it adds I feel like it adds some extra room for RP. Like if Marino responds to a mountain lion attack and like this person's bleeding out, you know, and like his hands are shaking, like he's freaking out. He's like, oh fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you know, like he's like verbally and like physically freaking out. He's like, okay, we're just gonna wrap some bandages around this. We're gonna get you in the car. We're gonna get you to the hospital. We're gonna don't die on me. Don't die. You know.
I like
but
that.
Then on the other hand, like when he's behind the gun, like doing his job, like it's something completely different. Like when he was involved in a shootout, like he was very calm about it. Like he was shaking a little bit because it was his first shootout, but like for the most part, he's very calm. Like he doesn't have an issue taking someone's life in the line of duty.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
But when it comes to helping someone like medically, he doesn't like needles and stuff like that. So like it kind of freaks him out and like kind of puts him really on edge and like makes him shake and like.
I like
just kind of gives up this really insecure, like I'm not confident in what I'm doing. Vibes,
and I love that people are getting really creative with their cops. Not everybody's just making the serial, as Soul said earlier, the cookie cutter cops. Like, didn't Selvig make his alt cop as an ex mall cop? Like,
don't get me started on that.
But I just mean like
him.
I just simply mean in the sense of like people are getting really creative with the characters they're developing for their cops, and I kind of feel bad that I didn't do something creative with McNeil. That McNeil's kind of your stereotypical, like his story is that he moved to LS because he got laid off from Liberty City PD because of budget cuts and because he was one of the newest hires. So he basically was informed that LSPD was going to be hiring officers, and he tried to get a transfer out here, and so that's why he moved out here. So it's like he was already a cop. He's just doing what a cop does, and you know his wife is a EMS, so he has some medical knowledge, and it's like, okay, so he feels authentic, but he doesn't feel creative in any way. And I there's part of me that can't wait for him to perma so I can come up with a really creative alt cop.
Yeah, but that's kind of how I was with Thorn. Like Thorn was made to be very like by the book. Like he was very cop. Like his reason for becoming a cop was he got mugged back in college. Like he was going to college to be a lawyer. He got mugged and he wanted to help people. Marino's reason for being a cop, he thought it would be cool to carry a badge and a gun and go really fast.
I love it. Just super basic. It makes me happy.
Yeah, like it's there's no big depth to it. And like I really have enjoyed playing Marino like in that fashion. It's so different from playing Thorn. So, but yeah, I mean, research is just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of try to wing it and try to do what feels right. Yeah. Obviously, if I ever do anything wrong, like feel free to message me or whatever and be like, yo, hey, that's not really how you'd respond to this. I've reached out to people in the past before, like with serious wounds, and been like, hey, you know, like kind of how would I react to this? Like if this actually happened, and they'll like give me some pointers, and then like I kind of decide, okay, do I want to react to it that strongly? Like, do I want it to be that realistic, or do I just want to kind of like take a toned down version of that? And I kind of just roll with that. But I mean,
nice.
Can I just say from like an EMS perspective, also one, Elio's out there who might be listening to this, I have actually written a basic life support first aid guide for you guys. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to do the EMS Elio first aid day. So yeah, there is a treatment guide for you to do like basic first aid on people. So I've got that all written out for you. I'll get to it at some point. But yeah, from an EMS point of view, anybody who's interested or is worried about medical RP or anything, just give us something. It doesn't matter. None of us need you to go out and research what you would do in this in that scenario. If you've got this injury, just be like, hey, look, I'm bleeding and this is it. Like we had an incident where we had two people that had taken the same drug and they were both giving the opposite end of the spectrum symptoms.
Interesting.
But it's okay. It's fine. We will just do whatever you give us. Like, I really don't care if you've got a slight nick and you're spurting blood everywhere. I don't care. I'll deal with it. But just give us something for whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter how basic it is. It doesn't need to be authentic or realistic. But whatever you give us, we will treat us. Just give us something. That's all.
I like that.
Can confirm they will, because I'm pretty sure I've written in /me. /me is pretty fucked up, and they've rolled with it.
Dude, I love seeing the /me's of like, is big not okay? Like I love seeing those because it makes it adds a little bit of humor to the scenario, so everyone can take that OOC sigh of relief and realize that we don't need to stress. We can do the RP, and at the end of the day, it'll be okay. Like I love seeing those. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, for the longest of time, and I still don't know when the medics roll up, and bless y'all have already dumbed it down for my dumb self, but I still give the wrong symptoms because I'm like, okay, I'm bleeding out. I'm gonna assume I have high blood pressure, or I have low breathing and low blood pressure because I'm bleeding out. And I found out the other day it's usually the opposite. So I'm like, well, now I feel big dumb because I just don't know how to respond to this. I don't know about blood pressure or breathing rates. Or
I'm with you on that.
Heart stuff. It's like I wish I did. I wish I could give y'all a more authentic scenario to respond to, but no matter how I research it, Google's like, you're having a heart attack, go to the hospital. I'm like, okay, well that's not going to help me.
No shit, Sherlock. That's not what I need.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
So I really wish I could give y'all some more. So if y'all are creating guides to like maybe give me a little bit of a head start on like maybe these would be my symptoms, like if I was mauled 3 times by a cougar, like what I would have the symptoms of,
If you were mauled 3 times by a cougar, you'd be dead. I'm sorry.
It happened to Vaughn the other day. I'm surprised the bitch is alive.
I saw that clip and I was laughing so hard because the exact same thing happened to Diego at the exact same spot.
Yeah, it happened to Marino too, apparently.
Yeah, Armstrong, and I think it was Dawn. Armstrong and Dawn were trying to confront Diego for lock picking an SUV at that exact parking lot, and I'm trying to play it off like, no, I wasn't doing that. I was doing something else. Blah 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 blah. And out of freaking nowhere, this cougar runs right past Armstrong, right past Dawn, and mauls Diego in front of them. And I was like, what just happened?
Yeah. That same thing happened to Marino, except it avoided like 5 people to come at me.
Yeah, it targets people, man. It's crazy. It's actually funny.
In the wrong spot.
Yeah, it's funny that UA mentioned the medical guide because I'm actually working on a guide, not for medical stuff, but I'm working on a guide for firearms related stuff for GTA because I know there's a lot of people that are involved in GTA that know nothing about guns, and I have gone through and built. I actually, to be honest, it might be. Hold on, I might just be done with it. Let me look at it real quick because it might be ready to release to fellow role players.
I accidentally called my AR and AK as Vaughn the other day because I don't
know
guns. And
I love people that do a bunch of work that I can move
AR. I'm just like, oh well, I call it AK. That's my name for it. Because I feel like those are the kind of things that kind of like point out that I'm a stupid bitch and I don't know the difference between like medical stuff and gun stuff, and it's like that's stuff I should really know as a cop, but it's stuff that everyone just assumes so when it comes to playing a cop on the server, in the 2 academies I've attended, no one's taught me basic first aid, so it's stuff I've had to like make up on the spot. So if we're gonna start doing like little gun trainings and little first aid trainings, that would definitely help me a lot. So that would be
well. Here, if you can see my stream, this is where the roleplay guide that I've got for firearm stuff is currently at. I don't know what UA's looks like, but mine's gonna be in a Google Doc, and it's gonna be. I'm gonna see if I can password lock it. I'm gonna see if I can have it where it's not edited or anything. It's just gonna be for viewing purposes, but it's gonna have. I actually have to add the marksman pistol because I forgot that gun was in here until somebody blew a hole in McNeil's chest with one of those guns and made him bleed out and almost die with a gun I didn't know.
Who would do that?
I know. So, but anyways, I've got all of them in here except that, but it's basically got a rundown of what the guns are, roughly how powerful they are, like a brief description of what they are, you know, entry versus exit wounds, the automatics, it's got the shotguns, it's got the rifles, it's got the explosives, it's got ballistics, it's got like how hollow points work versus FMJs, it's got, you know, shotgun shells versus beanbag rounds, it's got my favorite, which is the difference between a magazine and a clip, because this is my biggest pet peeve in the history of forever. I hate when people call them clips. You know, how tasers work and like how you should expect to react to them, and like how it's gonna hurt, what it looks like to get shot, and how a bullet goes through you, and how body.
You mean I shouldn't just lay on the ground and go when I'm getting tased? Like that's
no, that actually is 100% fine. That's actually pretty much how it works. But like body armor, if you're like, oh, I got shot in the vest, I'm fine. And I'm like, no, that's actually not how it works. This is what your body would look like if you actually got shot while wearing body armor, and what the body armor looks like after it's been shot. And then the last one is GSR, and how GSR, you know, works and what it is and how people find it and where it would go and stuff like that. That I think, honestly, I might skim through it. It might be ready for me to start sharing. So what I'll probably do is
fucking amazing.
I will get this like shareable, and I'll give it to you three to like review it. And if you guys think it's missing something, let me know, and I can edit it. If it's something
I wouldn't know.
No, but like if you're reading it and you just like see a gap and you're like, wait a minute, I feel like this is missing something, you can just like go, hey, and I go, oh, I forgot to put that back in or something, and I can put it in. But yeah, it should be pretty close. I know that Tease was going to help me add a whole medical section, but if there's already a medical guide that's being built, I'll just leave it to that because I don't want to make it too complex. Oh, this is the old injury sheet. Okay, I actually think I've seen this one before.
So there is an old one out there which will give you like,
yeah.
stuff. But I can redo some of my stuff for people on the other side of things.
Yeah, I mean the old EMS terms are great, but it's like, okay, would I have low BP if I'm shot, or would it be high BP? It's those kind of things. Like, what am I experiencing during a car crash? Maybe, you know?
Yeah.
For you and anybody out there, I will say to you, yes, that's what you have. If you say I've got high blood pressure, we'll go, okay, that's fine. Honestly, we don't care. We don't care whether you think you've got high or low blood pressure or whatever you think you've got. We'll go with it. It doesn't need to. Like, we're not actually paramedics. I'm sorry, but like we're not.
Wow.
I know. Shocker, right? And we're not actually cops. Shocker.
That bubble.
What?
But yeah, like if you say like you've been mauled by a murder kitty and you've got high blood pressure, then great. Okay, we'll go with that. Well, if you say you've got low blood pressure, great. Okay.
And to be fair, we're calling them murder kitties. Maybe for all we know, murder kitties just magically give you high blood pressure when they bite you. I mean, we don't know. Like, I mean, come on. Like, yeah, I mean, and Electronic Dragon just put something in chat too. I've used this a lot on a cop, is asking a question in an LOOC or a /me. Like,
yep.
Like McNeil searches the plastic bag. I know I can take the bag off you and look inside of it, but I'll go /me. McNeil checks the plastic bag. What would I find? And then you respond in /me. This would be that. You can easily do the same thing in medical RP. Like, I have a bite to the neck from a murder kitty. What would be happening to me? And then you could let the EMS go, okay, and you can kind of let them fill in the gap for you if you're willing to. I know I've done that with medical RP as well. So just at the end of the day, none of us are professionals. We're a bunch of geeks and nerds that like to tell stories on a video game. So I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're giving something to the other people, whether it's a cop, whether it's a medic, whether it's a criminal, whether it's a civ, as long as you're giving them something, then you're fine. Just make sure you're giving something so they've got something to react. Because if they have nothing to react off of, because I've seen this too, where somebody gets down and I'm the cop on scene, and there's a medic that rolls up and they're doing all their /me checking vitals and everything, and the person's giving nothing. There's no symptoms, there's no vitals, there's no reactions, there's nothing. It's like, well, then what the heck are they supposed to do? They can't just magically make you, I mean, they can revive you. Cool, they can punch in a command. That's not roleplay. Yeah.
I hate that. I'll be honest. It's the biggest pet peeve. Yeah. If I have to pull up on a medical call and like they clearly got ran over, and I'm like, /me checks for injuries, nothing. /me checks for injuries, nothing. And they're just like, dying, or is unconscious. I'm like, what are you? What's going on with you? I can't. I'm just gonna start mummying you with bandage and gauze until like the medics arrive. You know, because I'm supposed to react, and I hate like not having that. And I get it. I mean, slash me's are hard and maybe you don't know what to put, but like has a scrape on their elbow or something. At least something. Give me something to work off of.
Well, if you don't give me anything to work off of, I'll just be like, okay, do you think you need to go to the hospital, or like, do you just want me to help you up? Like, what do you want from this, bro?
Yeah. Well, and a couple good mentions in chat real quick. Zane says sometimes I'm bad about taking too long to / because I'm distracted by talking to them. It is okay, and this is something that I've been trying to stress on scenes. Like, yes, sometimes when EMS and police arrive on scenes, we'll be high stress and we'll be kind of very quickly moving through things because we're trying to stay in character. We're trying to give kind of respect to the seriousness of the injuries, because who knows, person may want to roleplay the RP out that they've been injured, and so we want to kind of give that level of stress to the scene to make it feel important. That being said, it is okay to then slow it back down for the / me's. Like, I hear a lot of times the cops over the radio, you know, they'll have somebody who's been shot and someone's giving a / me's and they can't do anything. You know, they're just not able to keep up, and medics are trying to get there. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes the medics are just not able to get there and they've got to get them to the hospital. But on the flip side of that, it is okay to slow everything down through / me's. Still maintain that level of severity, just kind of slow it down. And the same thing goes if you're on scene and you're just trying to type. Nothing to me is more frustrating than somebody going faster than you in / me's and pushing the roleplay in a different direction. Now, if it's their roleplay, they're the down party, then that's 100% on them. But I'm talking about the other direction, where it's, you know, the cop is / meing, or the EMS is / meing, and it's moving too fast for you, and you feel rushed as the downed party. And it's okay to slow it down, and or maybe an OOC, like, I'm a slow typer, give me a second. Like, it's okay to do that.
Yeah,
you can also
even, like, we've had before we had / me's and statuses, there was my leg, my right leg is bleeding. You can say that. Just don't sit there and scream, and because then I don't know how to react. I'm just like, why are you screaming? You're not telling me why you're screaming. At least be like, my leg. Oh god, my arm's broken. Like, give me something to play off a little bit, because it's the constant just screaming or the / me unconscious. It's like, okay, you're unconscious, but if you're gonna be playing conscious, at least do the / me's a little bit. I've had people who just like are just like, are you AFK? Like, just
did you get mad and just go away from your computer?
Yeah. Well, and
I've had that.
Oh, I think we've all seen that at least once. But on that note, knowing when to go unconscious and why is also important, because it's I know it gets frustrating for people, both cops and crims, cops and EMS, if somebody just passes out and they're like, oh, they black out, and like, okay, why are they passed out? Like, what's like, it's,
because I'm eating my dinner.
Yeah, like for example, if like people get shot and they instantly pass out, it's like, no, that's the exact opposite of how it works. If you get shot and you pass out, it's usually a lot worse. If you get shot you're usually very alert. You're usually very upset at that point in time. Like,
you can also break up your / me's. Like, if you're someone that takes a long time to write / me's, like, break them up. Like, you can break them up and be like, / me is bleeding from his leg, and then like in the next / me go in more depth into it. Like, be like, / me, the wound on his leg is massive, and like it looks like his leg was, you know, separated from his knee. You know, like, you can always separate it to kind of help, like, make things flow better if you need to.
Because
like, don't feel like
work in real life too. Is like, okay, so EMS rolls up, there's just blood everywhere, and they have to like inspect the wound so that you can be like, okay, leg is bleeding profusely, and then as they like go to treat that and be like, it's actually broken, it has bone protruding, you know. You can kind of go into depth to just give it like at least an initial like what they're looking at.
I usually
how you turn in real life as a gruesome.
What are the 3 dots called? Is it an ellipses? Is that what it's called? No, that's not.
An ellipse.
I usually add an ellipses. If I've got more, if I need to get them something, I'll add an ellipses at the end of it so that I can start so they are expecting more / me's to come, so they can start the role play, but they know they're expecting to find more and they're gonna hear more. And that
I'm a big fan of that. Like, I'm a big fan of making people work for the RP. Like, that's a shitty way to word it, I guess.
No,
but like,
it makes
I really
sense.
like when you give that give and take. Like, if you sorry, dogs. If you like roll up on a scene and like you're searching someone, like, don't just instantly search them and like be like, oh yeah, you find a bag of weed and da 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 da. Like, I'm more like, if they're like, oh yeah, there's a bag in their pocket, and I'm like, it smells, you know, it smells weird. I'm like, okay, / me looks at the bag and they're like, oh, it looks like there's weed inside or something like that. Like, it helps things kind of flow better, and it also makes it easier for you to like write up these descriptions and stuff. That you want to include.
Well, and T's just said a status to start for when EMS arrives is also great, because usually, unless you're outside Pillbox and you get downed in the parking lot of Alta from a gunshot wound to the chest, because, you know, that does happen. Sometimes you have plenty of time between when you get downed or when you get injured and when EMS arrives. That gives you plenty of time to work up a status and a couple / me's you can copy paste to give something so that you're ready.
So I'm going to give you, or I'm going to blow your minds with this, okay?
Ooh.
This is a secret that I'm going to let you in. It's super secret, okay? But there is a really good chance that when a medic rolls up on scene to your injuries, we don't know whether that's right or wrong because we're not actually paramedics. So if you tell us that you've been shot and you've got high blood pressure or low blood pressure, then we're going to go, yeah, that's probably right. Because we don't know any better.
Yeah.
And whatever.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, it doesn't
really want to roll my medic, I'm not going to lie.
Do it, Soul.
Yeah, it's like McDonald's did it perfect. He did a / me in chat. He did like when Officer McDonald's is bleeding from the torso, and then a second one. Upon further inspection, you notice 6 stab wounds and a lot of bruising. To me, that is beautiful. That is a wonderful example of how to get the initial thought out there, so they go, okay, I know where the injuries generally are located. So as they're kind of prepping themselves, you get the other half of it. Okay, now that you've actually removed his shirt or you've taken his vest off, oh, this dude be fucked. Like, here you go. Here's the rest of the information.
This dude be fucked.
Until we cut your clothes off, there's a really good chance that we don't actually know the extent of your injuries when we roll up on the scene.
Yep. I think it would be really cool if and this is just something I just thought of. I think it'd be really neat because I know you guys have like a copy paste macro that you guys use of like checks the vitals, checks blood pressure, checks heart rate. Like, you guys do that. I think it'd be really cool that like when you first should do that after someone's gone, like, oh, they're bleeding from this area. Like, okay, / me starts to remove clothing, because then that gives us like that initial second. That'd be kind of cool.
I usually actually just type all of my stuff out.
Nice.
Because I change everything based on what the person's doing.
That makes sense.
So if they give me something, I tailor. Generally, the / me's that you get from me are not copy pastes because everything's different. So I'll make it up on the spot.
Wait a minute, that's not 100% true, because the other day in our group chat, your kitty stepped on your macro and you asked Rage Guy what his vitals were, and Rage actually answered you.
Yeah. So the only 2 copy pastes I have is checks vitals and also checks for further injuries. It gives a full body inspection to check for injuries. Other than that, the treatment as to what I do is completely
No, so chat real quick, when we were organizing this episode for Off Script, we were discussing times and everything, and one of UA's cats stepped on his keyboard and hit a macro, and in Discord chat it basically went / me checks for vitals, blood pressure, blah 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 blah. And yeah, it did that right there. Exactly. It did that line of text right there in chat. And without missing a beat, Rage Guy comes in and role plays right back to him of like, oh, you noticed this, and this. And I'm like, what just happened? I glanced at it for 5 seconds. And he goes, I believe it's called roleplay, my dude. And I was like, cool.
Also, what I will say with that, a lot of us will do that, but we don't want an answer for each one. If you want to give us an answer for each one, we don't want an answer for each one of those. If you don't know, don't give it. That's just like, hey, look,
I just say vitals are okay.
Yeah,
vitals are shit.
we're looking for. Please don't feel pressured in going, okay, they need to know what my airway's like. They need to know if no. I just, vitals are good. Yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that.
No, I don't like because the thing I hate, I feel like you guys get shit on enough, like I feel like you guys are just used up as pickup mechanics sometimes. So I'm just like, I just want to give them the best RP I can. So I'm like over here, like I quickly type up in a Google document my symptoms. They're like I've been stabbed with a machete, and I'm conscious because apparently you're not supposed to do that, but I did it anyways. I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't immediately knock out after getting stabbed.
It's fine. It was more of a joke than anything else, but you're fine.
So like, and then they're like, okay, what are my vitals? And I'm over here reading like a medical document, like, okay, I don't know what my vitals would be for this, but I want to give them good role play. I want them to feel like I'm a good medical role player, and I feel like I freak myself out when interacting with you guys because I want to give y'all like a really great interaction, and you guys are like looking for all this stuff, and I feel like, okay, I gotta give them all this stuff because that's what they want, that's what they're asking for, that's what they need. But now I know that you guys don't need all of that. I'm gonna like maybe
no, just give us the basics.
Calm down.
To be honest, as long as you're respecting the scenario, because there's something, because it's funny because you said you guys get treated like a pickup mechanic, and that's actually something that cops, EMS, realtors, who else has like a mechanic based job? I can't think of
realtors aren't real role players.
Wow.
I'll say it right now.
Wow.
All they do is there to get my money, and then they fuck off, and I never speak to them again.
Wow. Well, I'm wow. No. What I was gonna say is all those people are characters and role players too, despite Soul's very flag in the ground standpoint right there. But my point is giving those people actual role play in those scenarios, respecting that is their role play. And like EMS may sit around for hours before they get a call, and then they get you. And if all you're expecting them to do is just get you up and like, vitals are good, I'm good. And that's it. That's so the 30 seconds of their role play, and then they're back to sitting for hours waiting. Or realtors who are driving around for hours, doing all sorts of stuff, and nothing's happening. And then they get what person wants to buy a house, and all that person wants to do is just buy the house right away. Or cops who may have no call for a couple of hours, and then they get one, and the person just wants to be sent up to jail right away so they can go it for 10 minutes and get away. Like, respect that role play on both sides of it. Respect that may be the only role play they get for a while, because they're doing the server a mechanical service by being available for that mechanic, for that cop, that crim, that realtor, that DOC, that tow driver, taxi cab. I think taxi cab and tow driver is probably the two most underappreciated roles on the server, to be honest. And yet when they're not available, everyone bitches and complains when there's no taxi or there's no tow.
Guilty. So
like, if you ever interact with somebody who's performing a mechanical service to the server, and to be honest, just in general, but like specifically mechanical services, for the love of Pete, please respect these guys' role play. Please give them the role play they deserve, even if it's not long. Just do what you can, just so that so that they enjoy what they're doing, so they'll continue doing it. Yeah, just
so the only reason. Sorry,
I was gonna say Zane just said, just send me up, just get me on my feet. Disrespect of another's time. RP, in my opinion, 100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So the only reason that we have, like, in the brackets, BP and stuff like that, is that if we say checks vitals, if we just had a thing that says me checks vitals, we get people to go, I don't know what my vitals would be. Like, what are you guys looking for?
Yeah.
But then if we put in, we'd be looking for, airway, breathing, blah, 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 blah. Then they go, oh God, I need to put all of these in. And we're like, no, you really don't. It's fine. Just don't worry about it. It's just for you, to give you a prompt to be like, hey, that's the sort of thing that we are looking for. We don't need all of it.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so last topic, because we've gone over, but I don't think anyone's complaining. I'm actually enjoying this conversation immensely. But I'm on a bit of a time restraint. I do actually have to leave in about 30 minutes. So I think we have we'll go ahead and we'll use this what time we got left with the last point I've got on here, which basically advice to others on best practices for their first character creation injection into the server. So we've all, by our own discussion today, have created a lot of characters, whether it's just been a few over the course of years or it's been multiples over the course of months. We've all made a lot of characters with varying degrees of backstory, varying degrees of time on the server, mechanic, non-mechanic, whatever. And I know there's a lot of people that really like, Soul, you mentioned that you struggle with making characters sometimes. I know people have mentioned that they just don't know how to make a character, they don't know where to start. Why don't we as a group kind of discuss or offer some suggestions to people who are struggling with making either their first character or a new character and don't know where to start, or are just got an extra tip that might help. UA, you have any advice for someone who's trying to do that?
I would say try and just have something. Like, just think of something, even if it's the most simple thing. Like Foon said to me, it was like, think of 3 things. Like, what are they like as a person? What sort of, do you know what's actually a really big one for me, because I'm a complete car nut? I think of what car they would drive.
I do the same. I've done that
like,
before.
What's their goal car? What sort of car are they into? What sort of music are they into? What sort of things do they do? And then I can go back and think, well, this guy probably wouldn't drive a car like that. And then what do they do for a living, or what would they want to do for a living? It doesn't need to be anything massive. Like, none of my characters have huge goals. It's just think, or base it off a character that you've seen on a TV show, and then alter it a little bit, or take something that's a little part of you and then amplify it or dumb it down a little bit.
I like that. Yeah, I've done the car thing before. When it was Red Dead, I was doing what kind of gun would they use, because the horses are so you can get a little creative with that, but it's still very limited.
The horses don't matter.
Yeah, but it's like what sort of weapon would this person carry, and why would they carry it? Because in Red Dead, it's like that's the guns are the car equivalent of GTA. Like it's very a distinguishing factor of their personality, so that can really help kind of hone in on who they are. Soul, what about you? What are some of the tricks that you can offer to people for that kind of stuff?
So think of them as a real person. Think of family tree. Do they have a mom and dad? Do they have brothers and sisters? Are they an elder child, a younger child, or a middle child? That kind of determines what kind of person they are. Because have their personality quirks, pros, like, Do they like pizza? Do they prefer sushi? Do they lie, or are they honest to a fault? Like, do kind of like fun little things. I would focus less on like the huge backstory, like have this complex backstory where they're from so and so, but like have the basics. Okay, their hometown is this, their family structure looks like this, they like this, they hate that. Just kind of do something. Usually when I play a character, I play them for a week on the server, and I will improv a lot of their answers, what feels right in the moment or what comes to me on the spot. And that honestly like kind of forms the character. It's like Vaughn. When I played her the first 2 days, people were like, oh, so what did you do? And on the spot, Vaughn was a gymnast.
Okay.
That was not something I ever contemplated or thought of or anything, but she was a gymnast through high school until an accident hurt her, and she had a metal plate put in her to her around her shoulder area, and she couldn't be a gymnast anymore, so she had to find a different career path. So she also likes hiking, so it's like she's very outdoorsy, very athletic, very this and that, and she's not just a cop. She's a person. And I think people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna play this gangster and I'm gonna sell these drugs and I'm gonna get these cars. You got to think, okay, what steps got them to that point? And that's their backstory. It doesn't have to be this huge complicated thing, but adding a little bit to the personality that gives them a little bit more depth. And you can go as you can create story as you go. Like you said earlier, you can't wait to perma McNeil so you have a more interesting
no, I didn't say that.
No, I know that, but like it's like you said that, like I can't wait to play this character because I feel like this character I'm playing now isn't good enough or interesting enough or has this complex backstory because it's basic. Ada was a basic character at the beginning. 3 months down the line, I add this twist into her backstory that adds more depth to her. Like it's never too late to add stuff to your character. What you can't do is take away, because it's already canon, it's already in the server, it's already part of the story. So you can leave it vague enough to where your time in the story, inspiration strikes you and you can input that into the story. It's like writing a novel. You can have your opening paragraph, but everything else is like up to you and what you want to create in the server. You're not there to just tell a story, you're there to create a story with others. So don't focus so much on what your character was, just focus on what your character could possibly be, but don't say no to RP just to stick to that.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. What about you, Rage Guy? What do you got as far as suggestions you can offer to people when they're creating their first character or creating a new character? Tips, tricks, anything that you've got?
Honestly, first character, especially if you're going onto a server that has an application process, fuck the application. Fuck what you put on the application. A lot of applications force you to write out this huge long backstory about your character and why your character is this way. Fuck all of that nonsense. Is at least the way that I like to approach it. I think that it works for some people, but for me personally, having a big backstory and all of that, like going too in depth into it, I think that it already sets the character up to fail, because at that point you're not playing a character, you're trying to play the story that you have in your head, and that's not what roleplay is about. So I think that it's important to maybe take some small things from that, like Soul said, like have some like why they're here, like what got them here, like maybe some quirks and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of that stuff you can also find in roleplay naturally by the way that interactions mold them. Like your character, you might not really have a quirk for them, but then they get into an interaction because they get robbed or something, and like then you're like, okay, well this is their quirk, you know. Like they are very vengeful, or like they hold a grudge or just something like that. Like you can always develop that stuff in RP and then add to it later. And I think that a lot of people, when they first come into the server, especially on family, like having seen some of the applications back in the day, like they come in with this full-fledged backstory of who their character is, why they're this way, what they're gonna do. And like I think it's important to have goals. I think it's important to have small goals, especially like if you don't know your big goal, like come up with a small goal, something you can work towards and just move from there. But I think that it's just a lot of people focus too much on that novel, that small novel that they had to write for their application, and they try to live that life. Like, and that's not gonna be fun for you. Well, like it's just not. You're gonna be too stuck in those lines.
Exactly.
Like it's gonna be too rigid.
Yep. Lud just said it. Lud said too much backstory limits you, and it's true.
Yeah, because it's like it's like you had this huge backstory on how your character experiences life, and you're like, okay, my end goal is to do this. someone's going to come along and throw a freaking wrench at you.
Yep.
And then it can either kill your RP right there because it's not up to your expectations, or you can mold your character around that. And I think a lot of RP is not, don't script your own RP. Don't limit yourself. The moment you limit yourself, the moment you don't RP,
it's the moment you kill your character.
Yep.
Honestly.
Well, and roleplay is about reaction. Obviously, there's some things we can kind of pre-plan a little bit. I call it storyboarding. I don't call it scripting. I call it storyboarding. I'm like, this is like an idea I've got. This is the kind of thing I can see it going. But then it's a storyboard. It's still open to, injection from other people, from, affecting from other people, and things being changed. But the idea is still kind of sketched on a board somewhere. But roleplay is about somebody else bringing you something and you having to react to it and respond to it. And how does that affect your character? How does that affect their character? How does the story change? How does the story alter? Because otherwise, it's either just a bunch of us playing a video game, or it's all scripted. There's nowhere else in between there. As long as when you boil it all down, that's what the crux of it is. So it's being able to react to that. And as Lud said, if you have way too much backstory, and as Rage said, if it's just this novel that you've written in an application, then when you get to those interactions, you already have all this pre-written scripting that's been done that's limiting you on what you can and can't do in that situation. And then it's not fun, which I can tell you from personal experience, because that's what I did with Paco. I wrote this really cool backstory for him, and I thought I left him open-ended, and I left him open-ended in some areas, but I didn't in others, and it was negatively affecting to the character. So
yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's important too, like when you're making your first character, or you're making a new character, like don't think like a lot of people go into making a character and they're like, I have to do something completely unique. I have to do something completely original. I have to do something that the server has never seen. Mm-hmm. Like, no, you don't.
No,
you're just here to have fun and tell a story. Like it's just a lot of people go into characters like that and they get over the top and they try too hard to make their character fit this mold of this goal that they want to hit, and it just like, you can't make your character be an Ada Clark. You can't make your character be a Richard Oakes.
I tried to recreate it. It just doesn't happen.
You can't do it.
Naturally. You have to let the RP shape that. Like the importance of your character to the server is not determined by you. It's determined by the people around you and the way that you interact to the RP that you're given.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And how you react to it. Not necessarily 100% by them, it's how you react to it. Because if you just keep saying no, like, let's say, for example, Richard Oakes injected himself into your story through his actions, and you just said no to everything he gave you, he's just going to disappear. You could have been involved in that story.
Sketchy. I'm not going to go with it.
Exactly. Or pick anybody. It doesn't even matter. Just pick any character that you think is as a quote unquote iconic character on the server, and they come up to you and want to role play with you, and you, through limiting yourself through backstory or just not feeling it, just say no, and they're gonna go find somebody else to role play with. They're not gonna want to be there anymore. That character's gonna go somewhere else to find someone they want to interact with, and you missed that opportunity. So I'm not saying say yes to everything, because that's not necessarily always the case. There's a limit, and if your character genuinely wouldn't do something for X, Y, or Z, especially if it happened in roleplay, then don't say yes. Or if you do, yes, but yes, and or something. But at the end of it, make sure that you are at least open to RP. That's what I've been trying to do with Diego, is I've been trying to be way more open with almost anything that comes his way, because I did the exact opposite with Paco, and it's very rewarding. I'll tell you that right now. So.
Yeah, you don't have to let people walk all over you and force you into things, but be willing to compromise.
Yes.
Yeah, don't break character, bend character.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. Mold your character to react to things instead of just always shutting things down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know about you guys, but I genuinely enjoyed that. I know Officer McDonald said this is something he'd like to see more of. I know that Sarah said because of stuff like this, she's more open to DMing people. I will say it again. I'm going to say it every single podcast I do. DMs are okay to send to other players that you are role-playing with. It is all right to congratulate them on good roleplay. It is okay to ask questions. It is okay to make sure everyone's okay OOC. I absolutely love the RP appreciation channel that's developed in the Discord for TFRP. I was so happy when I saw that, and it makes me so happy to see names pop in there hourly for people who are like, yo, I mean, even if it's just a simple little interaction, they're like, yo, I really appreciate that. We need more of that. We need more of that so much, and I am so happy. Whoever made that channel, big props to you. I'm so happy to see that, and I try and use it anytime I can. So be using that if you guys aren't, even if it's literally just tagging the person saying thanks for the RP, it goes a long way, especially if there's tensions that are building between your characters and you're worried even slightly there's OOC, bleeding in. Letting him know you appreciated it helps kind of squash that right away. So just having that positive mental attitude when you do role play and trying very hard to remember that we're all here to tell stories.
Gas in Mexican.
Harley, thank you for the 5 gifted subs, by the way. Much appreciated. Oh, Unironically Average got one. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Harley. I appreciate that. But yeah, anyways, everyone, I'm gonna try and have that guide up. I need to
Gas in Mexican.
I need to turn that alert down. It's so loud. I'm gonna try and have that gun guide up. I could honestly probably have it ready today. I'm gonna send it to these 3, see if they have any things they'd like to throw in on that. And if it's good, I will make it shareable and viewable for people. And then obviously I can edit it as needed. But I think it'd be really cool to see more people doing guides like that. They were like, I know I have this wealth of knowledge from IRL experience, and I want to share that with my role players so that if they want, they can better themselves on that role play. I'd love to see more of that. I think it's really cool that UA's done one as well.
Yeah, I would love that. I feel like I could play more characters if I had a little bit of a helping hand. Like I feel like if someone made a mechanic or car guide, I could play a mechanic or car guy.
Yeah.
Or I can know medical stuff, or I can know guns and not be a complete idiot. That helps people further their role play if you have that knowledge and just like kind of share that knowledge.
Yep.
Yeah,
that makes me appreciate you guys so much, because it is intimidating to do all that research, and I consider myself a pretty decent RPer, but this stuff will definitely take me to the next level because you guys are sharing your knowledge. So thank you.
Absolutely. And it goes the same way. So I'm very excited to see UA's guide for the medical stuff, because I know there's times when stuff pops up for me that I'm like, I know this much, but I definitely don't know that, and it would be very nice to know. But I played mechanic for a year, and everything I know about cars came from Top Gear. I mean, to be honest, that was something I kind of touched on earlier with researching and stuff. Like, I know way too much about the drug industry, IRL. Let me just put it like I guarantee I'm on lists all over the place. I'm on lists everywhere for firearms, drugs, explosives. I guarantee I'm on someone's list somewhere. So for the federal agents watching this, hello.
I don't actually sell meth.
Yeah, I don't. I know I'm
on a spreadsheet with like hundreds of thousands of dollars on it listed for selling meth. I don't actually sell meth.
Nope.
Just throwing that out there.
I'm a skinny white kid that works as graphic design. That's what I do. But I do enjoy researching this stuff, and so I know that some people don't enjoy researching it. So if there's any way that I can help with that, I like to try and help, which is why I started this podcast. So that being said, I want to thank Dat Rage Guy, Celeficent, and Unironically Average for joining me today. It was amazing. I appreciate you guys very, very much for joining me in this conversation.
Thank you for spelling my name and saying my name correctly.
Of course, absolutely.
Proud of you.
Yay.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun, so thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. I'd honestly love to come back and talk more about RP at some point.
Absolutely.
It's really good. Really good to just talk about things and just kind of approach things from a constructive point instead of like Officer McDonald said, like community discussion has a tendency to get pretty rough. So it's really nice when we have these moments to come together and just like be constructive, because I think that's the kind of community that we all want from family RP.
I 100% agree. And it's not, and this isn't necessarily limited to TFRP. I've played on other servers, and it's pretty much something that kind of I've noticed across the board for roleplay. It's not exclusive to one server. A lot of servers really struggle with that level of communication, a level of construction and constructive criticism, and inspiration, and just overall community being an actual community when it comes to stuff. Because roleplay can be stressful. Like, I know on Thursday night when I was done with roleplay, Friday I was dead to the world all day Friday. I was just exhausted. So I know that it does happen. So having these sorts of conversations is very, very important to me. I would absolutely love to have all of you guys back. So far I've been trying to get different people for different casts, but I'm absolutely down to bring people back for sure. And I might start increasing the guest count at some point. I think 3 right now is great for a nice little 4-person discussion. And if I wasn't on a time constraint, we probably would keep chatting, but I've got to actually dip out here pretty quick, so I gotta go buy a Switch. So yeah, hang on. Yep, no, you're right. That's why. That's part of why I sent it to you. Yeah,
I knew you were reading that.
Yep.
You were like,
Yep, I forgot about that.
You're like kind of tabbing over there, checking it, like, oh shit, he's right.
Yeah. Well, right as of right now, you're the only 3 who have it, so I can fix that. But
time to dox you.
Oh, that'll
signing up to some lists.
Yep, that'll be fun. So anyways, let's go ahead and see if we can find somebody to send a raid over to, and then we will call it. Chat, as far as stream goes, I don't think, actually, I might be live later tonight on some roleplay stuff. I don't know. It'll depend. I've got an errand I've got to run, and then come back home and do family stuff. So we'll see. But again, big thank you to Soul and Rage and UA for joining me. Thank you guys for hanging out in chat and for your level of involvement. If anyone out there is interested in being a guest that I've not spoken to you already, please feel free to DM me and we can talk. Obviously, I want it to be a good dynamic on each episode, so that the 4 people that are involved can, and you'll feel free to discuss and talk freely. But if you're interested, shoot me a DM and we'll talk and see if we can figure something out. But again, big thank you guys, and let's go ahead and send the love over to. Looks like Arendict is on the server right now, so we'll go ahead and raid Arendict. Let me go ahead and get.
I'm betting he's down from a 1050.
More than like, let's go to the stream. Let's see. Nope, no, he is driving. He is currently mobile in the vehicle, so that is good.
He's about to be down from a
Yep, which means he might be down. He's true. Oh, he's doing a subathon as well. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and shoot some love over to Arendict, guys. I will catch you guys later. Thank you guys very, very much again, and have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you.
Yeah, later, buddy.
Bye.